Welcome back to the Mark Bates Senior National Championships. This is the men's singles round of 16. We've got a fantastic match. I think it's going to be Liam Pitchford versus Ben Piggott. A tough draw for Ben, being his first game in the round of 16 to come up against top seed Liam Pitchford. But I think he's going to give him a good match. I think he's going to give it everything that he's got. And who knows? All it takes is one player having a good day and one player having a bad day, and we've got ourselves an upset. So I'm fascinated to see what Ben brings to the table, how he plays Liam. I know Ben's been, as we all have, been watching Liam play for quite a long time, so I wonder if just watching and observing his game will impact what he does on the table and how he decides to play him tactically. You're watching us on Table 1 on YouTube, but we've got tables 2 to 6 live throughout the day on tte.tv. On Table 2, we've got Parasingles Class 6 to 10. Group 2. We've got Billy Shilton and Shay Thacker. So tune in to Table 2 over on tte.tv for that match. See the view from the side, the umpires are getting into place. Joshua Reynolds is the lead umpire on this match. It's good old Lester as his assistant. A big thank you to all the officials and volunteers that are working throughout the weekend to make an event like this happen. They're long days, busy days. You've got to be on your game. You've got to be concentrating on every ball. It's not an easy. It's not an easy. It's not an easy challenge. But our umpires always appear with a smile on their face to take on these long days. I think they really enjoy the opportunity to umpire such high quality games and players. And some really exciting matches. I think for the first time in a while, the this draw isn't cut and dried. We've got some interesting matchups. I mean, Liam and Paul being on the same side of the men's singles draw is an interesting one. It's likely that they'll meet each other before we get to the semis or final, which means that the results could be a really interesting final. Ben Piggott, Ormsby player, very strong in the Premier Division. Very quick player. I'm going to see the players warming up now. Ben going straight in to some fast spins just to get his eye in. It's a good exercise. They're going to go back and forth with this for a little bit. It's a good tactic if if you're at a competition. Don't just practice forehand to forehand, backhand to backhand to get your eye in on the ball. Throw in a few spins, throw in a little bit of changing the pace. Really use that warm-up to get your eye in, eye on the ball, get your concentration. At this stage, it can be just those little things that can be the difference between winning and losing. Onto backhands. Pitchford's strongest shot. You can see how far ahead of him his batter is, how far ahead he kind of takes that shot. But it's all wrist. So much wrist, so much spin. And he's got the wingspan to be able to do these really incredible shots as Pitchford. I've been watching a lot of the Major Leagues table tennis, and Pitchford playing for the Florida team, the Crocs. It's been really entertaining to watch. David Macbeth, his England teammate, has also been playing in the Major Leagues table tennis. Playing for the Texas Smash? I think I've got that right. But very enjoyable to watch and get involved with. And it looks like we're about to start. Both players have warmed up and we've got Pitchford's first serve. Oh, fantastic. Straight down the line. Pitchford's not messing around in this first round. He set his stall out right from the off. Some nice placement there by Ben. He's almost like fading. It's not a quick shot, but he's fading his lifts into the backhand from the centre of the table. A bit of a risk considering how strong Liam is on the backhand, but maybe he's not expecting it. A little bit too high on that return. The perfect height for Liam to come in and smack it. Nice. Ben just mixing it up into his backhand. He's not letting Liam come in with his signature smash. Just putting a little bit of extra dig, a little bit of an awkward shot in, and kind of throwing him off his mark. It's good stuff. It's nice stuff. What a rally. Oh, that was a brilliant rally. The back and forth on that was fantastic. For a minute, it looked like Pitchford was going to kind of come back and lob and defend, but he saw his opportunity, came back into the attacking role, and it was reversed. Both players away from the table. Really fun to watch. I hope there's going to be a few more exchanges like that throughout this match. Oh, that serve is a kicker. Just absolutely loaded with topspin inside. Even if it's on the table, it's kind of being aimed deep into Pitchford's forehand, you know, on that return. So he knows where it's going, absolutely, because he knows he's put so much side spin on it. If it goes on the table, he can come in with the attack. I've seen him use it a few times in this competition, but he doesn't throw it in very often. I think, you know, once people figure out what's on it, what to do with it, kind of blocking it or placing it very gently might help them to get it back into an awkward position, but he only throws it in every, 10 or so serves. See if he does it again. Miss serve there. Pitchford taking the lead. But I tell you what, Ben's not letting there be too much of a gap here. He's kept with him throughout the game. Some really good exchanges. He's forcing Liam to make some mistakes. And some quite clever play as well, like I said, kind of taking his bets, edging his bets, playing some little digs into his backhand. Almost kind of messing with Liam's confidence. He's got such a confident backhand, but preventing him from doing what he really wants to do on that side. And that's a good shout as well. Liam trying to take the backhand from the midsection and then Ben playing him out. He knows Liam wants to come in with that big backhand. It's very smart play. A good exchange. Liam just being the slightly more consistent of the two in that one. I'd say it is Liam's consistency and his experience that's really giving him the edge here. He's just his ability to just keep getting it back on the table and with such quality. I think for players that are playing a little bit less, it's a difficult thing to come up against because I don't think Ben is doing anything wrong. I think he's actually playing him very well. Tactically, I think he's got the right idea. Let's have a little look at that point from earlier on the replay. Such a nice exchange. The defender becomes the attacker. And Ben defends it well, but he's just, taken out of position by Pitch in that last little bit. Neither of them, I'd say, are natural defenders or natural lobbers. But really entertaining points. A good serve. A lot into the crossover, I can see, but also just not quite dead into the crossover, but slightly more into the backhand side. Awkward enough that if a player wants to kind of come round and play it on their forehand, they have to go that little bit extra. It forces them to lean back a little bit and gets them out of position. Yeah, Liam forcing Ben into more of a defensive position there. He did a little bit of a chop. But you could tell that it wasn't his strong suit. If you're going to defend, you really need to come down with a bit of a vengeance, otherwise it can just end up being a bit of a weak ball playing back, a bit of floaty. Good placement there from Liam. Ben needs to avoid playing it into the centre of the table. It gives his opponent too many options. And he's aiming to make him run around. Good rally here. Oh, Great stuff. What I actually really liked was that Ben used his spin there, and Liam popped it up nice for him. It gave him a good edge when it came to the attacking side of it, because Liam was already on the back foot. I think that's the first kind of unforced error I've really seen from Ben, where he's just maybe going for the shot that wasn't really there to go for. A safer shot in that instance might have helped him, but the pressure... Oh, that was beautiful. You can see when the pitcher's serve hits the net how much spin it's got on it. It's kind of curling around the net. It almost wants to come back over the other side. I think they call it the ghost serve if you're able to do that, if you can put enough spin on it so that it's trying to cross over. That's pitcher's backhand attack. He was in the perfect position to take that. I could see what Liam was trying to do there. He was trying to put it down Ben's backhand while he'd sent him out wide. And Liam takes the second game. I'm not sure if the score properly reflects how well Ben is playing here. I think it might look like Liam's got, is having an easy time, but, he is having to play. He's having to concentrate. He's having to play his shots. He's having to think about what he's doing. If he gives Ben an inch, he'll take a mile. And as I was saying before, Ben's playing a very smart game. I think he knows that in terms of his consistency, in terms of his shot quality, Liam's got the edge here. So he has to mix it up. He has to do something different in order to get those points. Liam to serve. Back to the table for the third set. It was a nice little lift there from Ben, but taking it on the backhand was just put him in the wrong position. Liam saw that gap and saw red. Oh yeah, Ben's lift not quite spinny enough to evade a kill by Pitchford. If you're just joining us now, welcome to the Mark Bates Senior National Championships men's singles round of 16. Liam Pitchford versus Ben Piggott. Ben on the far side in the red, Liam of course with his signature headband, all in black on the near side. Currently Liam is taking a 2-game lead, but Ben's been playing extremely well. And I enjoy watching Ben play just from a stylistic point of view. He has some brilliant games when he's playing in the Premier Division of our Senior British Clubs League. And it's nice to see him playing someone of Liam's calibre. A nice little banana flick there from Liam. Coming round the ball, but with enough speed and enough force. Yeah. Although Ben's going for these shots, which he's right to go for them. He's right to be playing these big, ambitious shots, but I think Liam's playing him. He's just playing into the gap every time. There's too much space on that table. He's not. Ben's struggling to cover it in the same way that Pitchford is. Maybe not having enough time to return to that central position to really cover both of his wings. Liam's trying to do that little switching it up. I think he's got three even, very effective serves that look very similar. He's got that short one that's got very heavy backspin into the forehand. The one that he just tried to do there, which was heavy backspin but into the backhand and long and fast. And then he's also got that one that's just got tons of topspin on it. He's actually kind of coming up instead of going down on the ball. And because he's coming across it as well, it's got so much side spin on it. Because he starts his serving from kind of a similar position, you've really got to watch the bat to know what's coming back at you. And Liam knows what he's setting himself up for as well. I think one of the quickest things you can do to start winning games early on is to think about what effect you want from your serve. You know, what are you putting on the ball? What will that make your opponent do? How does that help you? You know, don't just serve and prepare, serve and know. You know, what's the likelihood of this coming back? Backspin, topspin. I think if you want to start picking up a few more games, really having a good initial attack, a third ball plan. It doesn't always work out that way, but I think especially in local league and, you know, at a lower level, it's a really good thing to have in your arsenal. Know what your serves are setting you up for. And I think watching Liam in this game is a really good example of that. Liam's up 3 games. It's going to be tough now for Ben to pull any back, but let's see what he can do. I think he'll be looking to better himself each round. It was a nice response from Pigott to get that backhand back. He's kind of placed it back on the table. Unfortunately, not a strong enough response to get that. Looks like there's been a timeout. Ben's pulled a timeout. Have a little look at the exchange from earlier again. Ah, that's superb fade. Just a short one for Ben, I think, just to break up Liam's winning streak. I think once, when your opponent has got 3 or 4 points in a row, it's a good idea just to take a little bit of time, just break their momentum and give yourself a chance. Oh, this is a really good exchange here. He's out of position, and that's some superb play there. Pigott really worked for that point. Sharp down the line there from Pitchford. He's got an amazing fade shot as well. He looks like he's going to go cross court, but just that slight opening of the bat, that slight change of angle can send it down the line, and he doesn't even have to do it quickly because it looks so much like it's going across court. People usually run over there, and by the time they realise, it's too late. Liam forced to defend here. That was good consistency from Ben. Staying on him, not letting Pitch get away with getting back off the table like that. Oh, a false serve. I think the pressure getting to Ben a little bit now. See if he can pull back some more points. He can. It's not over till it's over, you know. Stranger things have happened. There's that fade I was talking about. You can see perfectly there the slightly open angle of his bat as he comes across the ball. And that is why Liam Pitchford is Liam Pitchford. Just pulling up an absolutely fantastic forehand killer right at the end. I think that last match was a tougher one for Ben. But I think props to him. He's done an incredible job. I think the quality of what he's played is really strong. And it's no mean feat coming up across Liam Pitchford in the round of 16. Not an easy draw at all. A brilliant game, a brilliant one to kick off the round of 16. We'll be back on table one soon. Some more matches. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Mark Bates Senior National Championships. You're joining us on Table 1 on YouTube for the women's doubles semi-final. On the far end, we've got Letitia McMullen and Maya Sultan versus, on the near side, Tia Yu and Mari Baldwin. I'm joined with Chris Duran. We had you in the commentary box for a bit yesterday. How do you feel like the morning, up until this point, has played out?
Yeah, it's nice to see that, for example, last year in the quarterfinals, 3 of the 4 matches were almost a formality. Now you see Joe Hunter pushing Tom in particular. That was probably the standout men's match of this round, and as it stands, it's 3-2, 9-8 for Sam Walker against Matt Radovan, my doubles partner, so I'll give him a shout out. So it's really nice to see those youngsters pushing on and trying to make that next step.
Talking of youngsters making that next step, the game just below us on table, I think it's table 5, which is Isaac and Paul Drinkle. Absolutely cracking match on TTE TV. Really a fantastic indication of how the youngsters are coming through and starting to challenge some of those senior England players. So really fantastic match to see.
Yeah, no, I believe Isaac was coming in not fully even aware he was going to play because he was having some, I believe it's elbow troubles this week. So I think it's almost worked in his advantage. He's played more aggressive because he's trying to keep the rallies somewhat shorter. And Paul sort of his get out of jail free card going away from the table, some high balls, and that was, at times keeping him in it. But tough group as well with Larry, who on paper is supposed to win, even though I know Isaac's had a little bit of the run of that matchups of late. So yeah, no, is it still no? It's just 4-1, just finished. But that was a lot of close sets and an exceptional game. So it would be interesting that. I'm basically hanging it up now. I'm 34. Paul, I believe, is 34. And these youngsters, the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, should be making that next step up soon.
Yeah. So, on this first table, we're seeing the players just starting to knock up. What do you make of these matchups? You've got the Sultan and McMullen combination on the far side and the Yu Baldwin combination on the near side. Mari, of course, playing with Pimps with the green bats. And Auntie?
No, Tia as well.
Oh, Tia.
Tia having the short pimples as well on her backing as well. So, I said this earlier. I watched the Maya and Letitia take out the Green sisters in a very close one. I think it was 9 in the 5th in the end. And on paper, you would expect the Greens to win that one. And for me, being impartial, I was watching it because I was recovering from my doubles match and my knee had given up on life at that point. So I didn't want to move. So it was in the nicest possible way. Consistency from Maya and Letitia. They weren't doing anything out of the ordinary. They were making the first ball, putting the ball on play, and it was predominantly winners from the Greens or errors from the Greens, so they're very consistent. If I'm being honest, Mari with the pimples especially might be a bit of a bogey player for these two, neutralising their shots and then potentially lifting the ball for Tia to put away. And Mari in her own right's got a good forehand, she can put the ball away as well. So I would be personally surprised if they did find a way to win this one, but there's no reason they're not going to get potentially a set and make the game close. In doubles, if I'm being brutally honest with you, we could have won our doubles match 3-0, me and Max, and it's a game of fine margins. We lost juice, and the set we won was 4 or 5. I think we might have even won on points.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
tiniest margins that can make the difference in those scenarios.
Yeah, 100%.
So, sometimes when it comes to games like this, the consistency of Letitia and Maya might play in their favour. If they're able to deal with the bats of the two on this side and just keep getting it on the table, they might be able to outplay them in some respects. But I would say that the blue team's a stronger team, kind of on paper. It'd be interesting to see how they deal with some of the tactics. I think tactically, the blue team might also have a few bits up their sleeve there.
Yeah, good start here for Letitia and Maya. Not doing anything out of the ordinary, being 3-love up. Arguably 2 errors from the favourites and one winner on their side. But you see that I've said this hole, and people aren't. And I struggled a little bit in the doubles with the first ball. It's not coming at you as quick as you think. That a lot of the people at the David Ross Centre, they play upstairs in the training hall, the University of Nottingham, and then the England players have played there many times over the years, and it's just a lot quicker. Right. Similar floor conditions, and your body doesn't feel different, but the ball's just hanging in the air every now and again. So sometimes the slow spinny balls are gripping in the table, and you're early on the block. So someone like Letitia, I believe I was asked like dark horse yesterday in the winner in the dark horse. Letitia's probably, you could make a case, the most underrated player in the women's game, as she makes an error. Sorry, Letitia, but she does the simple things very well in the nicest possible way. She's not going to be in the final of the women's singles but you don't want to play her outside of the top 2 or 3 women there. Like just doing the simple things very efficiently well, and then
she's very solid on on her technique, on her base technique. She's incredibly solid, and can be a tough opponent to come up against because of her consistency and because of that technique. If you're making errors, she's not a player you want to come up against.
Yeah, I think if I'm being honest with you, it's traditionally in the girls' game, and now in the last couple of years, you're actually seeing someone like Anna Green, Tia, Sophie Early now having exceptional backhands. Traditionally, in the last sort of decade or so, the best women have been forehand players who are more safe on the backhand, whereas Letitia's got a very good, solid backhand topspin. And, she's not going to hit the winners with you both wings, but what she is going to do is, like that, the forehand cross-court, 70% power, and I believe it is 6-3 as we stand. And they're not really under too much stress as the points going on at the moment. The thing in the doubles with Mari's probably setting herself up for a single shot sometimes, and Tia's having to react to. It is always, there's sort of a growing in period. I'm pretty sure this is their first time playing together at the senior nationals. Yeah. There is a certain finding out period, especially they might get through the first round, get to the semi-finals in second, third gear. Now they probably need to go up to fourth gear. Worst case scenario, fifth gear. Yeah. But as it stands, they're being outplayed at the moment.
How is it when you and Max pairing up in the men's earlier on? How do you kind of get over that little adjustment period where you're playing with a new partner? You have to figure out what their game is, how to set them up, because whatever you're giving to your opponents, it's not necessarily going to be coming back to you. So how do you kind of tactically make those decisions of what's going to be best for the person stood next to me?
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes you have equals, and then sometimes you have the sort of the senior part, and it doesn't even necessarily mean you're the better player. Like me and Max, you could argue the level was close, but I was in this scenario the senior partner and trying to keep him more controlled, and then I think that sometimes works better having a lead in that scenario. But it's finding out that what your opponent wants and within reason trying to do. Sorry, not what your opponent, your partner wants, and trying to keep it within reason. But I've always said the biggest mistake most people make in doubles is the fact they're trying to hit winners. Especially, until you play the Pauls and the Liams. The fact it's a slightly different level in the doubles. Dave Macbeth having probably the best backhand flick. That's a little bit different. Who they were playing earlier, they said that they couldn't deal. He didn't miss a backhand flick in like 2 sets, and then he missed one, I think, in the third set. And that's just a different level. And it's like, fine, take your hat off to your opponent. But you saw up to it's 9-8 now, getting a bit tighter. But up to 7-3. They were keeping it very simple, and it was enough. And now Tia and Mari have raised their level, being a little bit more aggressive, especially on their forehand sides. It'll be interesting. Big point here. Almost tempted for a timeout at this point. So, yeah, see, maybe just a regulation block there at 9-8 cross court would have been better. But Tia's so aggressive on the pimples, but she's not used to the ball, possibly.
Maybe a better doubles partner is somebody who's able to kind of take the back foot a little bit and just keep that consistency, keep it on the table, play the right shots more than playing the aggressive shots that might lead to some of those unforced errors.
For the decades, the theory was, especially with the righties and lefties, that you had like an architect, which was my traditional role. I was the solid one, and then you had the killer. Right. So when me and O'Driscoll made the 2 finals, I traditionally kept the ball very, very tight, very low on the net, tried to keep someone out, and then the ball would pop, and Mike would be the more aggressor of the two. Same thing happened with me and Joe Cope when we made the final. My unforced error rate was probably very low, and if you were looking at a winner's rate, I was very low on the winner's side, whereas Joe's probably unforced errors, but he's being that aggressor. Yeah. Now, in this scenario, because specifically with the pimples that are on offer, it's going to be a bit more gritty, a bit more tactical, and to be honest with you, they're just keeping it away from the pimples at the moment, Maya, and then they're playing predominantly to the forehand side, especially with Tia, because Tia's backhand traditionally is so strong. Yeah. It's still a tactic. Her forehand has got a lot better of late, but it's still the slightly weaker wing of the two.
What's some of your advice? I mean, maybe for people who are playing in lower level tournaments and things like that, who come across pimps. I know there's a lot of players that really struggle with pimps, especially when they're not playing 100%. Them, practicing against them regularly. And I'd say we see a maybe a larger percentage of pimp players in the women's game, especially with the backhand kill. So what would you say are some tips for, instead of just, avoiding it entirely, because some players have very strong, other sides as well, what are some tips for those short pimp kind of flat hitters that you come across?
So the biggest mistake people make, there's two, in my opinion at least, two very standard mistakes people make against short pimples. Short pimples is easier with the tactics than the long pimples, because long pimples you need to understand the mechanics of it reversing the spin. Short pimples, what you should do when you're first done, or if you're struggling, never missing the net. Never missing the net. So you're giving yourself the chance to arc the ball all the time, bringing the ball up and down. And small things like moving the ball 3 inches to the left of the middle of the backhand. So when you play someone that's a pimple specialist, and if you're spinning the ball 70% power, 70% speed to the middle of the backhand, that's Christmas to them. They don't have to move, and they're giving you your energy back. And people think backhand means middle of backhand. You've got the whole half of the backhand. And what you find is if you make them move a little bit, usually the ball has less energy coming back to that. So the two simple tactics I would say if you're playing against short pimples, keep arcing the ball with topspin all the time. And if you want to learn just how to put more spin, just practice all the time, people pushing long to you and just spinning all the time. Because that's somewhat similar to what happens in a rally when they're blocking with you with the short pimples. It's almost a bit like a backspin. And the other one is not every rule with your footwork is for every player. Traditionally, the biggest mistake I see when I see people play short pimples is they stay too close to the table. So the ball's coming at you, and you haven't got that space to arc the ball. So personally, I was lucky. I got a lot of practice in Belgium against a guy called Frédéric Sonnet, who was, in the late 90s. I think he got top 50 in the world, and I played him 10 times. Mm-hmm. So I lost the first couple, then I'll be honest, I was a little bit past his prime, and I was a bit younger, but he probably would have beat me in his prime. But I got the experience of knowing how to play against it, so that when I play against pimples now, I know what to do. But yeah, traditionally for me, I think most people stay too close and they get rushed for speed and they don't have enough time to arc the ball over the net.
It's funny you say that. Just on this table earlier, we saw Tintin Ho and Sienna Jetha. And Sienna, to her credit, was playing well, but it's exactly what you just said. She was staying very close to the table, and that speed and that power that Tintin puts in, especially with that powerful backhand, Sienna just didn't have the space to play a proper shot at it. She was playing a half shot every single time, and it just got caught out multiple times. So yeah, what you're, perfect example there of what you're saying if you go back and watch that game. Talking about the architect and the killer, let's apply that to what we're looking at here. So on the far side, we've got Mari and Tiana. Who's the architect? Who's the killer?
I'll give this one back to you, Chloe. Who are you going to say? And I'll explain from my perspective.
I'd say. Mari does have that really powerful forehand, but I'd say Mari's the architect in this one
100%.
Because she's got the touch. She's got the touch, and the variation of pace, I think, is maybe a little bit more technical than Tia at the moment. I think Tia's got the kill. She's got a really strong attack.
100%.
I think it's harder, the near side, to distinguish between the two, but I would say maybe Maya. Oh, you know what? Oh, I don't know, because Letitia has a really nice kind of slower, spinnier shot.
Yeah.
That actually Maya might be able to come in and smash, but I'd say that between those two, it's harder for me to pick out.
I 1,000% agree. No, I think it's very clear with Tia and Mari. Mari would be the architect, and as you've just seen there, brilliant forehand from Tia. Tia would be the killer in that scenario. Whereas, to be honest with you, Maya, and this is what I was saying earlier with me and Max, and having a leader per se, and then the guy that likes instructions. In this scenario, it looks like you have two equals with Maya and Letitia, and if I had to say, I'd say I'll cheat a little bit and say Maya's the killer on the forehand and Letitia's the killer on the backhand, but I don't like that. It's just she's the only one that's doing a top spin of that quality on the backhand side at the moment. Tia's the pimples, obviously, it's a different shot, and Maya's basically not missed a ball on the backhand side, and Letitia's not missed a ball on the forehand side, or not many. She's came more simple like that. So I believe there's set points coming for 3 set points coming up for I believe that the number 2 seeds, Chloe. I think.
I think so. Yes, I think that's accurate. I think.
So.
I don't know if these two have. I don't believe these two played together last year, but quite an interesting pairing actually. And I think Mari being that architect is quite good for Tia's game. 100%. And I think again, talk about the pace. Mari's such an awkward player. I think people underestimate her. She got to the final senior one year. Yeah, senior Emily final.
She beat Emily Bolton for sure. Sorry, Emily. and then I believe it might have been Jasmine. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but she got to the final, and she was a really long shot that time. And no disrespect, she wasn't junior national champion at that point, and she was. I know Craig Bryant was working with her at the time, and so they were doing a lot of specifics in the corner. But at the time, people didn't really know how to play, and they were basically playing every single ball to her backhand, and they were playing into her hands. She didn't move, and she was doing the pinballs, and no one could hit through the pinballs. And it's for me, it is. I was talking to the tactical the other day with Connor yesterday on commentary that sometimes when you play this style of play, you see the brains getting frazzled, and they know to play to the forehand, but they still play to the backhand.
Yeah.
Because they feel a bit safer because they're not getting the whole ball hit past them. And they should be going a lot, honestly, more to elbow with Mari, so that when she's at least having to move that little bit for the pinballs. When she knows the ball's coming in the middle of the backhand, there was a couple of receivers in a row she did in that set, and she just dominated. They had topspin with this, and it's horrible to play against. But it'll be interesting the first few points here to see if they can rebound Maya and Letitia, because they definitely look stronger this way around. Oh, fantastic shot from Letitia, probably rally of the match so far. And you know she's not going to miss those balls, or very, very seldom is she going to miss those balls. So, and I know sometimes Mari and Tia like a little bit of confrontation from the opponents, even like showing and things, whereas Letitia's quite quiet and Maya's very relaxed in her own right. So that quiet, stable game might be also distracting them a little bit.
How important is kind of temperament on the table? How much can that affect things? Is it something, I know that some players find it easier to deal with than others when you've got an opponent who's very enthusiastic, very passionate, shouting, showing that enthusiasm. Some players can find that quite distracting. Some players, it fuels them and they like getting riled up and brought into it. So, I mean, for you, how does that work when you're on the table? Do you like it when your opponent's kind of giving it a bit of extra? Does it force you to give it a bit extra? Or are you very much in your own zone and you need to stay in your own zone?
Well, I learned something a long time ago, and I learned it specifically against choppers. When I played choppers before, I was so serious. And yesterday in the doubles, in our first match against the PL brothers, we were so serious. We were too tense.
Yeah.
And I couldn't play. And what I traditionally, at least on my end, I played my best when I was taking the game seriously, don't get me wrong, but I played with a tiny bit of a smile on my face, and that worked better for me. And I'm not saying that's the best method for everyone, but you need to do what you do and not feel like someone's telling you not to. You have to do it this way. There's some people like Sam Walker, for example, he's always going to be more on the quiet side. He's not the in-your-face rah-rah, shower, aggressiveness. Yeah. Dave Macbeth, likewise. Yeah. And then every now and again, and I've always said for Dave, I like Dave a lot, I think he's a fantastic player. I would like to see a little bit more expression and emotion every now and again. Yeah. Just every now and again. He's not a shower 6 times a set, just 1 or 2 big moments. Show me I'm here for the fight. Mm-hmm. And what for me on my end, I found I was better when I was more relaxed. Then every now and again, I would really turn it on and show that I was there for the fight, and that worked better for me. And then if there was a controversial point, or if there was something, or if off the record I didn't particularly like the guy, which happens every now and again, and even if it was something so simple as I can't believe I have this guy in the draw. Yeah. We've all been guilty of looking at the draw. Have I got this guy in this round? And you think, how is that one side of the draw and this is my side? And you have to find a way, whatever works for you on an individual basis, to find a way around that. Yeah. So just briefly going back to table 1, it is now 6-4 for Maya and Letitia. This is probably the favourable way around for them. I don't know if that clipped that. No, it just go along on that 6-5. So you would like to see a little bit more, if I'm being honest, from Tia and Mari, just putting that forehand away. She's steering that forehand at the moment. And I've said this, and this is my biggest... if I was working with some of these players more often from a coaching perspective, I would like to see them take that ball on into the middle or down the line more often. Yes. At the moment, they're hitting great shots, but they're hitting the racket. It's like in a cricket match, if you're hitting the ball to the fielder every time, you're getting no benefit for your shots. They're hitting great shots, but they're hitting them straight to their opponents.
A player, in the female game that I think does kind of disrupt that, and I played her at a competition at the weekend, is Sally Hughes. Amazing punch down the line, and she gets so many points off it. Can be an awkward player, but you're right, going down the line And even, you know, a Liam Pitchford-esque shot where it looks like you're going cross court but kind of fading it down the line can be incredibly effective.
8-7 now. Yeah. So now they're just a little bit where when I would again possibly be thinking of a timeout on the Maya and Letitia side of things. They'll probably win this point now I've said that. That's much better from Tia. Again, down the line punch, Sally Hughes-esque. I'll give Sally a shout out wherever you are. Well done, Sally. But no, it's the simple things, and it's harder for a reason. And I speak to a lot of the juniors and say I don't feel comfortable hitting that shot down the line, or I don't feel comfortable in that. And I say to them, it's the national championships. It's for the best players. It shouldn't be easy, and there's a reason why they want the ball cross court. And it's possibly holding us back a little bit with some of our national team players. When I watch the WTTs, some of the other countries are a little bit more developed in that variation on their shots, whereas we're still a little bit hitting the ball cross court a little bit too much often.
Talking about variation, I mean, maybe not quite as much in this game, but in subsequent games, we've seen, like in some of the women's games, very close to the table, quite rhythmic in terms of the back and forths. How important, how disruptive can variation in pace be? I think that's something that Mari does incredibly well. How does that, can that affect a game? How can that throw a spanner in the works?
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to a number of people over this week, and Andrew Bagley, and we were talking about your slow ball is your variation. So your kick is your variation. It's not your stock ball, but I've always said, if you have a spin, your power becomes more effective. If you have the power, your spin becomes more effective. My biggest weakness, and it was a technical issue with me, I came relatively late to table tennis. Is it always slightly half long off my wide ball on my forehand. I'm slow spinning that all the time. And when I played, the best players, that they knew to play me half long off the side and wait for the slow spin. Yeah. So because I didn't have the power one, it's probably my biggest weakness. Tactics, if anyone's playing me later on in the year or anything. So that was my weakness. Don't give away any if you told me I had to get a set off one player in the hall for 10 grand or to leave the hall tonight, Andrew would be my least over Tom, over Paul, because he knows how to play me inside out. He knows to play me half long forehand, dig the ball into my middle as a 6'8" guy, and that's my weakness. So I have a very good forehand heavy spin, and it works a number of times. However, because of my knee in the state it is, because my technique isn't as good, it's not as effective against some players because they know they can just hold it because they don't have to worry about the power ball coming. So someone like Liam, what Ben Piggott was doing on the table one, he was backing off, waiting for the rocket on the forehand side. Liam sees him, backs off, he slows it down. Now Ben's out of position. Liam's got an easy put away on the next ball. Yeah. So I think especially in the girls' game, it's true in the men's game as well, especially for the younger ones, and I've said it, Abraham Saldo is the best player at the moment of constructing his points, winning the point in 3 to 4 different ways. In the girls' game, because inevitably you're not going to hit the ball as hard as the men, in the top players, they're not going to hit as hard as a Liam.
But relative, though. I mean, we're not playing... to be honest, most of my games against men just for numbers' sake, but I think when it comes to competitions like this, it's relative, isn't it? So it's 100%. Like, it doesn't matter if they can't hit the ball as hard as the men. We're not playing men right now. It just needs to be a hard kill.
Maybe I should have explained that better. Yeah. What I meant is what I call forced errors. Yeah. So they're hitting... with patterns. If you watch the best Chinese players, the best Japanese players when they're playing the WTTs, they're hitting a backhand down the line, and they know invariably if it's got quality on the ball, it's going to come back cross court, and they're ready for the forehand, and they're half a second ready ahead of schedule on that forehand. It's not that they can't hit a winner. It's that they're playing 20% within themselves, and they're setting the ball up, and they know they're going to win it by the third shot. Yeah. So I always pronounce her surname wrong, but Sun Yun Cha is incredible. Is that how you pronounce it? Sorry, Sun, wherever you are. So the world number one, best women's player in the world at the moment. She does that she sets the point up with the backhand, and she picks the right ball to then kill with the forehand. Yeah. Whereas sometimes they've decided I'm going to hit a win on the second shot, so I'm going to hit the win on the second shot no matter what happens. So
it's waiting and picking the right ball, isn't it? Right, the right ball to be a killer. Back here on table one.
I think 6-1 is 6-1.
Yeah, 6-1. So Baldwin and you taking quite a significant lead in this third set. I think this side definitely seems to be the weaker way round for the Letitia Maya combination. How important is like that? Because it's who you're serving to and who you're receiving from as well. So sides can make all the difference in terms of how well you do setting yourself up for that winner. What do you think it is with this side that these two are struggling with?
To be honest with you, they were in the other way round. They were easier to expose both people wide to forehand. They preferred the balls they were getting, whereas this way, that's what's happening. When Mari's hitting, not necessarily punching the ball, but the quick kicker that she does off a backspin ball, Maya's retrieving that, whereas Letitia was taking it a little bit earlier and borderline countering it. So then Tia has less time. This way around, Tia has a little bit more time after that lift, and that's what's happening a lot. So, and at this point, it looks like Maya's confidence has gone off that, but then she looks a little bit resigned to their fate, I'm afraid. But it's been a good showing from Tia and Mari. Exactly like I said, that too often people are, that's that's a horrible shot. Fantastic shot from Mari. I was thinking you have to lift that to the ceiling because that's loaded, but this is what you need sometimes. Actually losing a set here might do them some good, in this match. If they'd won this match 11-6, 11-6, 11-6, and then you have to go into the final and the step up in quality is higher with a Jasmine 1, a Tintin, or if it is Sophie Early in the other half, the quality that Sophie has on her ball, and I believe she's playing with Eva Eccles, yeah. No, I knew it was Eccles. I apologise, Eva, in future. I just, but no, I mean, there's a certain step up of energy on the ball that you're going to get from those opponents, so finding your way and having another set on the table there might do them some good. They'll work out some kinks.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris, for joining me on this women's doubles semi-final match. Just having a little peek over the balcony. Let's see what's going on. So as Chris said, on table 2 on TTE.tv, we've got Jasmine Wong and Tintin Ho versus Sophie Early and Eva Eccles. The Sophie Early and Eva Eccles combination it's a new one, but I actually think a very strong combination. And I think although both got very strong attacks in this combo, we're talking about architects and killer, Sophie would be the architect. She's got a great spin, and Eva can come in with that flat hit, very quick attacks. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Eva's one of these players where she's not as all-round at this point of a stage as someone like a Tintin. Tintin's equally good on defense and attack, whereas Eva's attack is almost as good as anyone in the hall, whereas her defense needs a bit of work to reach the level where she's going to be in the singles medals contentions. But in doubles, when she gets that extra time to wind up, especially when you've seen a lot of pushes long to backhand, because traditionally you're getting a lift cross court, whereas that's just fantastic play from them, Sophie and Eva there. So literally you were spot on there, Chloe. Eva was the killer, and Sophie was the architect, just manipulating the ball there. So very, very close at this point. 2-1 for Sophie and Eva, 9-8 for Tintin. Tintin ready to serve. And then, again, it's brave to do that under pressure. 2-1, 9-8, you're 3 points away from elimination.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive. I mean, from my point of view, I always struggled to do that. On those situations, I would probably play a little bit too defensive, and that was my mistake for a number of years, being afraid to miss, whereas Jasmine, to be fair, there was very brave on the forehand.
Just to reiterate, the game that we're talking about now, that's on table 2, that's on TTE.tv. If you're watching us on YouTube, welcome. We've just finished the semi-finals for the women's doubles. Next on is the men's doubles semi-final. We've got Paul Drinkle and Sam Walker versus Ellis and Asghedom even. My pronunciations.
We've all been there, Chloe. I've done far worse. Don't worry about it. So, no, that will be coming up in around about, well, it should be now, in 2 minutes' time, I believe. 2 minutes' time. So, they'll umpires are already on the court. There's no rest. On table 2, on the Mark Bates Limited National Championships 2025, it will be set point now for 2-2. And there's lots of action as well. You can choose on table 3 as we stand for Simon Heaps versus Megan Shackleton in the wheelchair. Lots. It's great to see that they have that multiple tables. You come across from, I've seen people as young as, I think, is it 13? I think Little Pia was the youngest person. I'll give him a shout. Andrew being 42 in the men's singles.
He won't appreciate that shout.
Yeah, I've been calling him Grandpa all day, and he says I look 10 years younger than you, and he's not wrong, but I'm still saying it. So there you go.
Nice comment on the YouTube, just seen in from Russell Willis. Great, insightful commentary from Chris Duran. Impressive. Well done, Chris. keeping our commentary alive. some really great insight. It's great to have somebody who's playing in the competition, be able to come up here and
was playing in the competition.
Was playing in the competition.
I'm a has-been now, never was.
That's it. All the has-beens get relegated to the commentary booth up here with me. But we do appreciate you taking the time to come and chat about what's happening on these tables.
No problem at all.
Some really enjoyable and quite interesting games that we've had this year. It's like I was saying before, the way that the draws kind of worked its way out, we've got some really interesting combinations and some interesting matches happening earlier on in the competition than we'd expect, which might mean that nearer the end, these semi-finals and finals, we're getting some really surprising matches that we haven't seen before. We haven't seen these combinations play each other before, which I just think is just really great to watch. Like it's almost like doing top trumps, trying to figure out who's going to be working well against each other.
Yeah, it's I proposed this idea last year, and I don't. It's a little bit difficult to implement it, but I would love to see a player of the tournament. Old school like they used to do at the Grand Prix, and I think, however you would do that, entry into next year's championships, you get rewarded with something like that. So, it's a couple of years ago, Adam Dennis and Ollie Cornish got a miraculous bronze medal. They beat the number 2 seeds or number 3 seeds in the first round, which was a huge shock on paper. And I'd like to see something about that. Some way of even if it's a certificate, you get a shout out, you get to do one match in the comp, something around that. You've got fantastic facilities here. You have the other side with all the players. It would be just a nice thing. And if I had to say someone at this very moment in time, it would probably be Abraham. Doing so well and beating his competitors and playing at such a high level. Just quickly on table 2, that would be Sophie Early and Eva Eccles into the final. Wow. A nice 3-1 upset there against the number 2 seeds. So that'll be very, very, very interesting going forward. And I believe Jasmine, Sophie, and Tintin are all still in the women's singles. I'm not sure about Eva at this point. Chloe, enlighten me, Chloe. I'm not sure.
Now you're asking. It's always me looking on table 1, and I tend to miss the rest of them. Paul's your man for knowing what's going on at every given time. That's quite a big upset there on table 2. Tintin has been in the finals, the women's doubles finals for the past
28 years.
It's been 84 years. But yeah, she, a solid favourite in that competition, usually playing with Emily Bolton, who's not at the competition this weekend. So it was a new pairing, but I would have said, Tintin and Jasmine would be the favourites, but Sophie's been playing absolute quality at this competition, a really disruptive force coming in as a new player.
She was my pick yesterday in the commentary box when I was put on the spot, so I'm doing all right so far. So, but no, if I'm being honest, Tintin and Jasmine for me are a little bit too similar. And the balls, I would like to see. That's probably why Emily and Tintin had so much success over the years. Emily being the controller and Tintin being the aggressor. Whereas I think they're both very good they suit doubles players, but potentially with different partners. Yeah. If Sophie had played with Tintin, oh my God! The spin that Sophie's put up, which is going to lead to higher blocks for Tintin, and I'm not saying the same thing with Jasmine. If Jasmine played with Sophie or Jasmine played, I think the styles would mesh better. Yeah. Also at the end of the day, it's like we said. Juice, 3 juices. Me and Max, 3 out of the 4 sets went to Jukes. Max Radovan was leading in the 6th set briefly against Sam Walker, ended up losing at game 9, I believe. You're at this level in the national championships, you were talking consistently about 1 or 2 points making the difference between medals and potentially last 16 exits. And the on-court 1 now coming up, we have the 812 times national doubles champion Paul Drinkle with Sam Walker. No, I believe they won it 1 time as a pair before.
Actually, I'm not sure because it's usually Paul and Liam. Isn't
it? They try it sometimes with the Commonwealth Games over the years traditionally, where they've mixed the partners in preparation for that. So it'll be interesting. Nahom and Toby, bronze medalists a couple of years ago, very very good pair. You'd have to presume similar to the match we were commenting on previously, where you would expect the class of Paul and Sam to show through here. It'd be very interesting, Toby unfortunately going out against Andrew Bagley in the last round of the men's singles, playing a 3-time champion, that quality against him, and now he's playing a 7-time champion in Paul and a multiple-time finalist. I believe it's at least 5 finals Sam's been in. So it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back from that disappointment. Sometimes you can I don't want to say save your tournament, but make an 8 out of 10 weekend into a 9.5, 10 out of 10 a weekend. And traditionally, if there's going to be any shocks on the men's side, it's possibly more likely in the doubles over the years. If this was a singles match, you'd have to even more heavily rate the Paul and Sam combination. But in doubles, things happen. Strange things happen in doubles,
Lots of tagline. Strange things happen in doubles, and they certainly do. I'd say I am interested with the pairing on the near side. I mean, Toby Ellis, I've known him since he could barely just see over the table, because he's from my neck of the woods. And a shout out to the Ellis family, who have been going to competitions through Beth, who plays in the women's
Baby Ellis, I call him.
Baby Ellis.
Baby Ellis, I call him.
But yeah, Toby, I think, has got some really class shots. I mean, he's been playing in this competition for quite some time, ever since being in the juniors, playing in the senior competition, and he has got real quality. A little bit, I don't want to say chaotic, but I think there is a little bit of chaotic showman energy in Toby. Maybe not in his expression or his personality, but in the way that he plays. He can be unexpected, and he's got a good touch and feel for the ball. So
I said Toby kind of reminds me a little bit of a cross somewhere between me and Dave Macbeth, the way he plays good hands, control over the table. Maybe if he's going to reach that next stage, he has to be more willing to take balls on the back end. If you watch, ultimately the big difference between Max and Sam Walker in their match was Sam was able to hurt Max off both wings, whereas Max was only able to hurt him with the forehand wing. When I was watching Toby in his matches yesterday and against Andrew, very dangerous on the forehand side, backhand still needs that extra quality, that extra willingness to miss 2 shots a set, but the ones you go on have that extra quality. And I should mention Nahom as well. Nahom has been playing semi-professional now 2 or 3 years. Portugal, Kosovo. He's been playing a number of leagues. Very, 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 very good forehand. Exceptional footwork. Good player. It's just it sounds a bit of a cliche at this point, but when you play in that extra level, Paul has been now doing this for 20 years. At the professional level, that it's such a good test for these youngsters. But 5-2 as we stand, and very similar to the last match, Paul and Sam at this point in time, I believe, have not made an error really. It's like they're just simple, effective balls. And right as I say that, Sam misses the forehand. Sorry, Sam. So, and if you're checking out table 2, possibly the closer on paper of the 2 quarterfinals. Connor Green being I don't know if I should say new rising star, because he's 18, about 18 now. He's a bit older, but Ben Piggott approximately 10 or 11 in the UK. Connor, I believe, is 6 or 7 now, versus sort of 2 and 5. Sorry, so that on paper should be a closer fought contest. Whereas you can see the class shine, the power shine through from Paul and Sam.
We'll talk a little bit about the starting ready positions of some of these pairs, because I've noticed that some players, they really like to stay quite far back from their partner, almost like directly behind them, ready to come in when their partner steps out of the way. Sometimes they like to stay quite equal to each other, and then you kind of maybe run a risk of a collision or something like that. How do you kind of negotiate how that movement between partners is going to work? What's a good way to practice that?
Well, that was literally the very first question Max asked me when we were in the chat. He was like, "How do you wish to? Are you going to go left or right?" And I was like, "Of course I'm going to go left. You're left-handed, so I have to go away from you. If I go right, 6'8", and unfortunately not at my prime kilos wise at the moment, you're not going to see anything." So I had to go left. I'll be totally honest with you, Chloe. The backhand flicks changed everything. Before, when 90% of the returns were with the forehand. So it was predominantly you would go straight left as a right-hander. As a left-hander, you go right. It was very simple. The rules were sort of set in stone for decades. That was the way it was done. Now with the backhand flick, if you're taking it with the backhand, you probably, as a right-hander, will go clockwise. If you're taking it with the backhand, and if you're taking it with the forehand, you probably go anti-clockwise around your opponent. So, it's just totally changed the game of doubles in the last decade. So it's just, you see predominantly Dave in his first round. I can't remember for the life of me. Cheyenne was playing, and he told me Dave did not miss a flick until the third set. Yeah. And he could just pick his spot. Yeah. So there used to be this sort of ego showmanship thing where everyone knew you were going to flick it with the backhand, but you stood in a forehand ready position and then moved around for the backhand flick. Whereas Dave has now been like, I know I'm going to flick with the backhand. You know I'm going to flick with the backhand. There's nothing you can do about it. So the only real counter to that is you have to be willing, if you want to take that on, be willing to do the odd long serve.
Yeah.
Because if you just serve short the whole time, Dave's going to pick his spot. Tom's going to pick his spot. Sam's going to pick his spot. Paul is probably the last of the old guard where his forehand flick is so exceptional. His forehand push, he's such an exceptional... He very seldom would turn around for the backhand flick. Whereas Liam is of that new school where he is going to predominantly... He's probably taking it 50-50, which I actually like more than the only backhand flick, just because you have the options, you know. And Dave is so exceptional on the backhand flick in doubles that he's probably fine to do that. But some of the youngsters taking every receive with the backhand, I don't particularly like. I would like to see some more with the forehands.
I think, I have noticed that the backhand attack becoming more prominent in games, like a little bit more. Is it wrong to say fashionable? But like more, you see it a little bit more.
It's a copycat sport, that happens. What's in popular right now? Oh, he's doing backhand flicks. I have to do backhand flicks.
Yeah.
And it is predominantly right, but some people might not, or might have far better than average forehand flicks, and it cost me in the match. I'll say there was we had 3 set points in a row, and I missed 3 backhand flicks. Right. And Connor was very clever. He moved the ball 3 inches further to the right, whereas on the middle line it was a backhand flick, and just that extra 3 inches there were forehand flicks. But because I've been making the backhand flicks, I kept going for the backhand flicks. And I'm man enough to admit, like I cost us the game in the third set with Max. I was probably the senior partner, and for a bad concentration for 3 minutes, that happened. And you have to be willing as a player to look back at that and say, look, I'll try and learn from this next time. Or, me being semi-retired now, Max, learn from my mistakes.
I'd like to say for the record that I've been stepping around and playing backhands from the forehand side from the very beginning and getting it absolutely leathered in the other direction because I've not been recovering from it. So maybe I was ahead of the curve or behind the curve, depending on if we're doing catching the ball or not. Back on this table 1 now. Drinkle and Walker took the first set quite predictably, I think. I think as a pairing seemed to be quite solid, and like you were saying, kind of coming in with that flick and that attack, that quality from Paul. Well, when I feel like the service in doubles is so important, but so much more restrictive than what you're used to just playing in a singles match, because you know that it has to go across the court and the person can almost be ready, for the short ball, for the long ball. And I think for Paul's flick, that's especially beneficial and devastating. So what can you do as kind of the opponent on the other end of that to make it a little bit more difficult? How do you mix up the spin to catch them out almost, because you've only got so many places that the ball can land?
So it's very similar to sort of an off-spin bowler in cricket. There's not that many things they can do, but they're trying to do subtle differences. So I said one thing earlier with Max, where sometimes you just have to slow your hand speed down and sort of be willing to look. I think the biggest mistake a lot of them make is that they're afraid to look stupid. So doing a float serve, if they pick it up, Dave might absolutely rocket a flick past you. But if you're only doing the backspin serves of a certain length to try and keep them out, they get used to it within a set. The top players maybe half a set. So you have to be willing to make yourself look stupid every now and again and do those subtle variations. But little tiny things, Chloe, like ball toss height. Really? Changing the ball toss height by an inch or two, just so it has a slightly different energy. Sometimes a little bit lower, like almost, not straight out of the hand, but a bit quicker. You might catch your opponent by surprise. Whereas you see some of the singles matches and they're fantastic in the rallies, but they're doing somewhat predictable services. Whereas Liam, in his best, he's doing reverse serves, he's doing chop serves, he's doing float serves, he's going to do a long serve. And you have to be willing to, occasionally, your opponent just be too good. It's fine. And I've said to a number of people, there's nothing wrong with your opponent doing a great shot, especially if you did a good shot first, and they'd be like, it's just too good. And too many times people are so worried about looking stupid on the court that they're like, I know I have to do the right thing rather than taking on different options.
I'd say, just talking about Liam there, one of the things I've really noticed more in this competition is that little absolutely lethal top spin, side spin variation that he does on his forehand serve, where it looks like his regular like diggy short forehand serve, but it's actually loaded with the opposite. And the amount of players that I've seen just send it flying, and he does it like every 10 points or so.
One
He
or two
really
attempts.
doesn't, pull it out often, but it's so effective. It's almost a guaranteed point off that serve because people don't read the ball. So that's kind of the way, it's a very similar serve to what he's been doing the whole entire time, but that little variation, the different spin, just really throws the opponent off. And it's a great way to, if you're in a very tight spot, if it's a close game, he'll pull out that serve, give him that little bit of a jump ahead, which could then, change the trajectory of the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, from my point of view, in my opinion, that when I'm watching Liam on the WTT, let's say, rather than the national championship, because that's where he really gets. You're going to understand Liam's true level. He's playing his peers, he's playing occasionally his superiors. If he's playing the top Chinese, the very best, guys. I always notice with Liam, sometimes his serving is dictating his form. You can see when he's confident, he's doing 3 to 4 serves. When he's maybe struggling a little bit in his game, he's chipping the serves in a little bit more. And he's made a very interesting point, Chloe. He feels confident at the moment this weekend, and he's more willing to take that serve on. And I think if you're going back to pre-COVID, and to this day it breaks my heart with Liam in having the best form of his life, mid-tournament, I believe it was the Qatar Open. He's in the final versus Fang Shendong. That's when COVID happens. So you can't choose as a player when you're at your absolute peak, when you're peaking and you're flying. He's beaten Ma Long, he's taken out Xu Xin, and you could see he was so confident at that point. And I'd like to see Liam again find that confidence back in this game, be willing to take the balls on both sides, forehand, backhand, extra serves. And table tennis is the only England Table Tennis Association, Mark Bates, Limited Nationals. Everybody wins in that scenario. If you're seeing Liam in his absolute prime, there's so much these youngsters can learn from watching Liam having a full court game, and that's the reason he's won it 6 times. He's probably the only one that's consistently dominating with your backhand, forehand, returns, everything across the court. Okay.
Absolutely. Coming back onto table 1 now. Ellis to serve.
Oh, fantastic point.
Oh, that was a very sensible kill from Toby, putting it where neither player was stood.
It'd be interesting. Also, I know we have the two bronze medals, which I like. I don't think you should have to play for the bronze medal, but it would also be interesting to watch as it stands, Toby and Hom versus potentially Connor and Ben to see those matchups happening. But it's just. It always looks hard to me for Nahom and Toby to win the point. They can win the point, but they have to play the perfect point, whereas Sam and Paul can win the point too. Yep, Sam and Paul, I got that right. So like I said, with the double balance of this. Sam and... Yeah, I was exactly. So just a quick shout out on table 2 as Connor Green and Ben Pickett have taken the second set against David Mabeff and Tom Jarvis. So we did say that we thought on paper that would be the more competitive, closer fought of the 2 semi-finals, and you just see there that the Paul Drinkle classic shimmy flick, there's nothing you can do about it. So every single time that Nahom looks to turn the corner there,
that was a nice on there straight down the line from Sam talking before about the effectiveness of kind of playing down the line and getting your opponent out of position. And another one there that's twice that he's just won the point by kind of not too aggressively just placing it down the line, but with quality,
just redistributing the energy. But you see that what happened there. So this last point is the perfect example here that Nahom is having to turn the corner to hurt them with the forehand from the backhand side, whereas Toby played to Sam's forehand. Just that ridiculous flick from Sam. the 2-0-8-3 now 9-3. The stress is gone. Sam's, I'm going for everything. But the difference there, Chloe, was that Sam doesn't have to turn to get his forehand in from the backhand side. So when the ball goes to his forehand, he's there. 1 point later, he's hurt me with the forehand. I'm going to go to the backhand. Guess what? Sam's hurting with the backhand. So having that ability to hurt you from both wings just makes it so hard to play against. And then Paul's having his forehand flicks and just dominate on the receive that in the nicest possible way, it was a 4-1 conclusion halfway through the first set, really. They're just so good as a pair. And there's a reason why, multiple Commonwealth medals, European professional player for 20 years. It's just the calibre of the players. I mean, it would be interesting to see if Conor and Ben can maintain this on Table 2. So just if you're only watching on YouTube as it stands, if you've got the ability to go on the Table Tennis England TV, TTE TV app, tune into Table 2 right now as it's 1-1, so very even match as it stands. And it would be, in a weird way, it would be nice to see the upset. From a purist point, Tom and Dave would be a very, very interesting game. Who would be favourite versus Paul and Sam? But then from the upset, Conor and Ben making the finals, sort of Cinderella story, and they would then elevate themselves into that player of the weekend category. If Conor, then he's got Liam coming up, I believe, in the singles. That should be a very interesting game.
I am interested to see. I mean, you say Conor is one of the older, up-and-coming players, but he's been playing some incredible stuff recently. I think, within the last couple of years, his improvement has kind of skyrocketed. You can see it in the quality of his shots and his consistency. I really do think that he's kind of come up through the ranks in the last few years to really challenge some of the players above him. So I can see that kind of, he's closing that gap. Little by little, he's closing that gap. He's getting closer in those games.
Yeah, I mean, it never happens because it can't, but it'd be almost interesting to get a quarterfinal match with the 6th seed versus the 5th seed. Yeah. And then you get the right to play the 3rd seed or the 4th seed, and then think, what happened for the longest time was, I think, in my particular case, I think I lost the winner something like 8 years in a row in the quarterfinals. This is going back to the Ponds Forge days before we started playing at the David Ross. And sometimes being the 5th seed or the 6th seed, Liam winning 6 titles, Paul winning 7 titles, Andrew Bagley winning 3 titles. I know Andrew beat me in 2 of those title runs, Paul's beat me in a number, and Liam's beat me in a number. So, you sometimes you want the 5th seed, but it doesn't work that way. So it was almost interesting if Conor was sort of running the gauntlet there of taking on Dave first, and then it's not going to happen because he's going straight in with Liam. But if he does theoretically beat Liam, he's then got, regardless of who wins, a previous national, in Paul's case, the defending champion. Andrew's won 3 himself. If Paul wants to win, if Conor wants to do something truly memorable, he quite theoretically could have to beat 3 previous national champions in succession, even if it was Sam. Sam is all but in name being in 5-6 finals himself. Yeah,
you're right. A tough doing, at that level to kind of to get into that medal running, having to basically you've got that wall of really highly ranked, very just solid players to get through. So not an easy task. But I think in terms of like watching Conor play over the years, I have seen that gap closed. I have seen 100%. him get into the position where he can properly do some damage against these players now. And I think that's, I'm hoping that as he gets into his 20s and things like that gap closes even more and we start seeing some even tighter games with some of those like big name players that you've just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, Conor at this point now, I mean, he was always a phenomenal backhand player. That was the shot that came natural to him. And then I noticed the improvement on his forehand where you're getting to the stage now where, both wings are almost equal. You can make an argument. I mean, ultimately, possibly Krianga being the one exception, everyone hits a forehand harder than a backhand. Yeah. So like, you very rarely now in 2025, you're getting any forehand orientated play. Maybe Truls being the last of the old guard where he's more of a serve, third ball player. If you watch Wang Chu-Chin, it's literally backhand and forehand is almost identical in quality. Yeah. I mean, Liu Shengdong maybe be an exception, having such an unbelievable backhand. I mean, Liam was telling me, a few of the players telling me like they've never seen a backhand like it. The lasso effect with his wrist is incredible. Yeah. So, Conor now has got a forehand which is national championship medal worthy, whereas maybe a year ago his backhand was that level when he played Tom in that incredible game 2 years ago. That was sort of his coming of age match then. He got very unfortunate not to at least take that to a 7th set in the end. And then against myself last year, it was, I said going into it, I felt it was a coin flip game, and it was proven that case. I mean, 12-10 in the 7th, I didn't win that game. I won a coin flip at the end of the day, So Conor, and probably Conor gives Tom a better game than I did because I was pretty much spent the next day. So, for the neutrals, maybe it was better if Conor had got over the line that year. So, You
It was
know,
a great match. I remember watching, and I because I was up here on the commentary booth watching that game, and it was an exciting game to watch, and I think the rallies were. Yeah, they looked exhausting. They looked exhausting. Are you getting like flashbacks?
I think I'm getting like a PTSD flashback right now. But no, to me it was a game of two halves. Whereas, if I'm being honest with you, you kind of knew the other three quarterfinals who was realistically going to win them, and then because Emma Vickers she went to labour, the maternity, they pulled out with I think 36 hours notice, and in my opinion, I was very grateful to them. They did the right thing and they shifted us up one. Yeah. So it was the right thing to do. Not having if they'd not had a fourth seed, I mean, you could have had a ridiculous lopsided section of the draw. So, and at least last year, me and Connor, I think, were a slightly different level to the 6, 7, 8 seeds because Andrew Bagley wasn't playing, for example, and so it was I think there was a tier system of Sam, Tom, Paul that were in their own little class, and then briefly me and Connor were in our own mini level, a level behind them, and then the next level, the other guys were maybe one level behind us. So that game was sort of the past versus the future, and we were transcending at just the right time. But it was interesting actually because I think we both felt pressure in different ways. Yeah. You know, Connor probably, I wouldn't say necessarily expected to win it, but was very, at the bare minimum, very hopeful that he would. And me, I had an opportunity there, you know, so many times over the years playing Liam in his prime, Paul in his prime. You know, very, very difficult matches for me to get over the line there. And I've had some chances over the years, you know, big leads, some tough losses over the years. But if I'm being brutally honest, in my heart of hearts, 80% of my quarterfinal losses, you knew who was going to win. They were the four. Oh, you gave it a good try, 4-1, but, you know, the class of your opponent showed through. Whereas having Connor in the quarterfinals was sort of like and that ultimately affected my decision not to play this year because I did injure myself in that game. That was when I hurt my kneecap in that game in the fourth or the fifth set. I didn't want to sort of compromise that match with playing compromised this year because I probably feel I would have got to the quarterfinals potentially. Yeah. It depending on who I drew in the last 16. Starting in the last 16, there was 3 or 4 guys that were harder to play on paper than the other 6 or 7 that I could have, 5 or 6 that I would have played. But then, do I honestly think I would have had a chance to continue the top 4? No. So I would have played one match, maybe 50-50, 60-40 for myself, and then I would have probably got embarrassed in the quarters by one of the top guys, and they probably would have enjoyed it. So,
the gloating, not worth it.
But no, I think the Connor match last year was so special because, if I'm being totally honest, I don't think at times we played our best, and that I think if Connor had played his best, he probably wins 4-1, 4-2. But the tension that we both felt because it was so close helped the atmosphere. And you know, I went to university here. I had a lot of friends in Nottingham, and Connor's the local lad. And you know, I don't blame Connor for it in the slightest or in the others. But all the juniors wanted Connor to win. Yeah. All of the current Telstra England people wanted Connor to win as he's part of the team going forward, and that's their right to do that. I totally understand why they'd want him to win. And then I had sort of the local league Grand Prix guys saying, we still believe in Chris, you know. So it was actually the match started something like 80-20 for Connor with the crowd, and then it ended up being close to probably 60-40 for Connor by the end. You know, it's because it was such a good game. I don't think anybody wanted it. It was one of those games where nobody actually wanted anyone to lose, you know. So, yeah, just going back now, timeout from Ben Piggott and Connor Green on table 2. Make sure you tune in on TTE.tv. And just again, the power that that Jarvis and Dave are able to think that you could argue Dave probably is a bit of a double specialist, a very good singles player, but an exceptional doubles player, especially on the return of serve. You know, that having that backhand weapon can neutralise all the tactics the other team have going forward. And Tom's just so fast. Yeah. You know, I don't particularly believe Tom's a better doubles player than singles player. I just think he's that level on both. Yeah. So it will be very interesting to see that match, and as it stands, looking like they'll play Walker and Drinko in the final.
Which will be a very interesting matchup indeed. They're getting ready on table 1 to start with the quarterfinal of the women's singles. We've got Anna Green and Tia Yu. This will be an interesting match, actually. I mean, Anna's already had a mixed doubles. Chris just said then that this was his want for the for the quarterfinal match, and I think it'll be quite tight. I mean, Anna coming off the mixed doubles victory with Connor, which was a superb match. I was really happy to see those two get the victory. I think they played really incredibly well.
I'll be honest with you, I was on a tactical lunch break at that point. What was how did it go, Chloe? Just give me the footnotes.
I think, Connor and Anna, they just knew each other's game just inside out, and you could tell they were playing tactically very well, but also they just weren't making those mistakes, and their opponents were just maybe not as strong of a pairing. I think, obviously, they've been playing as a doubles pair for quite a few years now, and I personally was kind of rooting for them to get the victory this time, just to show their progress, just to show of their progression. They really fought for that victory, and they deserved it. It wasn't like a walkover match. They really fought for it. So, now Anna back to the table, having come from that, coming from a high, now playing Tia Yu with the Pimps.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Family vendetta with Tia beating Erin in the previous round. So I know that. Some of the Draycott were like, how do we always get Tia in every draw going forward? At least one, if not both, of the sisters. So, obviously, Anna, at the time, I would say it was quite a big upset after Tia's run against Tintin in last year's national championships, losing Juice in the 7th, to then only a couple of weeks later rebounded by beating Tia in the final of either the 17s or the 19s. I believe it was the 19s. It might have been the 17s. I apologise, but that was a very good final. It's the reason why is that traditionally sometimes the girls struggle to get strong topspin on the backhand, whereas Anna's a backhand-orientated player with an exceptional backhand topspin. So Tia, she can neutralise Tia's punch to an extent. You're never going to stop Tia from hitting backhands, but it's a fair fight on the backhand, and actually the forehands are the weaker wins from both players, and that's a fair fight in its own regard. So you'll probably see both players at times trying to keep the weighted ball away from the backhand and looking to actually turn it into a forehand to forehand match, which is slightly the weaker wing of both players.
We've got a question in for you from, how do I pronounce some of these names? Ritzaboy. Ritzaboy?
I can't see it.
Ritzaboy, I think, is how you pronounce that. It says, Chris, I would say I'm just below the top level local league. Beat everyone else easy, but I can get beat 3-0 by the best players. I guess practice, more hard work, but any other tips? LOL.
That's a very good question. I mean, there's multiple ways around it, and I mean, I'm now doing a lot of work with the youngsters in Northampton. Now I'm stepping away, at least in some capacity, from the playing side, and I'm working with the youngsters. And I have what I call, rather than boring sessions, necessity sessions, which is the ability to push and touch with a similar technique. So the stuff that people will never remember on the YouTube highlight reels, the WTT when they're playing the 10 best points of the day, the highlight package, which is going to come through after this in the coming weeks after this tournament's concluded. The points that no one's going to give you any credit for and no one's going to remember. Yeah. The ability to touch the ball short forehand or dig long to middle backhand with a similar technique. Paul Drinkle, incredible, the best at that one specific shot in a league of his own in England of keeping the disguise. And it's a lot to do with the hand speed and the contact. So when I see a lot of local-ish league players, it's the same formula, Chloe, all the time. Forehand to forehand, back into backhand, match. Yeah. It's the same, Yeah. And again, this is my, I don't want to say critique, but helpful advice that it's not about always necessarily hitting the ball full power across court. Learn how to win we'll call them important points rather than boring points, but the unmemorable points that give you the edge there. So, and the best piece of advice I can give you is just learning how to play all the time off backspin. Whether it's pushing, so you're neutralising the push, or even better yet, learning how to spin. So when my players now that I've been working with September in shout out Highfield Table Tennis Club in Wellingborough, they made a break for the National Cadet League this year with first time we're doing every session spin off backspin. Every session spin off backspin. And to be fair, Chloe, as you said, stepping around with the backhand for you, it's more natural to you. Some struggle with it more than others. But I said to you, guys, in the nicest possible way, you can hold your level and improve slightly when you're feeling good, or you can learn the essentials and you're going to hate me for a month and then you're going to be thanking me in 6 weeks. Yeah. And that's the thing. And ultimately, if Anna wants to win this match, she's going to probably have to dominate off the pushes when Tia is pushing long to her. She's going to have to look to dominate with the first ball. So, again, I think Anna will probably still be the slight underdog with Tia being the number 2 seed and stuff, even though Anna did win that last game.
Yeah.
So you'd have to say, and I've said this a number of times, I would love to see the players give everything in the first set. If I'm Anna here, best shot so far by Anna. That was fantastic. And as I said, looking to spread the ball wide to Tia's forehand, that's going to ensure. I would love to see them give everything in the first set. Some of the players are warming up in the first set, and they don't understand the benefit, especially when it was the best of 5s.
Yeah.
If I win the first set, so valuable, and.
It sets the tone for the rest of the game as well, because the person who's on the back foot, they're not just at a disadvantage numbers-wise, they're at a mental disadvantage. They've got to kind of really work to pull it back there. Just some interesting results on table 2.
Just briefly, that's Dave Macbeth and Tom Jarvis through to the final of the men's doubles, which will be held tomorrow, around about 2:30 or something, I think, if I looked at it around in the afternoon, around about that time. So the number 1 seeds versus the number 2 seeds, the strongest pairs by far as it stands, making their way into the final. So well done to Dave and Tom, and it'll be a very interesting final versus Paul and Sam tomorrow. Well, again, probably on paper one of the closest finals. And then you see the fantastic rally back on table 2 with Tia against Anna. Again, wide forehand being the key tactic probably for both of the players, being the aggressor.
Yeah, we've started to see a little bit of that in action. I mean, Anna just then kind of playing very wide into the wings. Exactly. We literally, we manifested that, I think. We manifested that. We were just talking about the fact that they're going to be kind of going into that wide forehand and
Elbow as well.
And hence it occurred. We've got another question coming in from Monty Super. Chris, I'm just starting to get into junior tournaments as I'm starting to get better and more serious about the game. Curious about your mentality, but he says mental, but I think it means mentality going into every tournament. Did it change? So I think maybe from a junior into the senior tournaments, did your mentality change? How do you kind of prepare yourself mentally going into a big tournament like this?
Well, I think for most of the, I'll just say top players. Personally, I found my 2 favourite periods of table tennis was when I was roughly last year cadet, because I'm playing something every week. Yeah. I used to be able to play, a cadet 4-star, a junior 4-star, junior British League, senior British League, Grand Prix, everything, and I never stopped. So that was a sort of and you're trying to make those breakthroughs in the seniors for the top cadets, and that was my sort of first mini breakthrough. And I'm just saying myself because I can speak for myself in this regard. That was my first favourite stage of playing, where everything was fun. You're looking at the ranking list. I've gained 112 ranking points this month, and everyone's always assessed with the ranking list at that age. How many points? Audit trails now online. I remember back in the day when you used to get your copy in the post, and you were waiting for the audit trails. I know the hairline's going to do that if any of the cameras on there, but the. Yeah, no, I remember those days very fondly. So that was my first one, and I think it's important to, one, take it seriously, but also enjoy yourself in that scenario. I find it a little bit sad, Chloe, honestly, sometimes when I'm watching the stress of the 14-year-olds and they're, a couple of tears this weekend, a couple of angry moments, and I think I much prefer when the players are willing to get 1 yellow card every 6 months with an outexpressing of emotion. And I think it's healthy. I think sometimes the coaches, the accreditations, they're too severe in that scenario where the kids, they're only human, they're juniors, and throwing a bat once every year, 6 months. I don't see the problem with that. It's the ones that bottle it up, and you can see the stress is on their faces, and they're so clenched. Yeah. They need to get the anger out somehow, in that scenario. But
I've got to say, as an international umpire, I can't condone
yes, you
getting. But I understand what you mean about regulating your emotions and that being a really key part, especially as a junior, cadet juniors. How you regulate those emotions. If you need to kind of, express a bit of that emotion, don't throw your bat. No, but I think
once a year is
finding things that you can do to help regulate your emotions, especially in those crunch moments. That's important. knowing how you react, how you respond to pressure in those moments. I think at a junior level that can be make or break. You've got to know what to do, how to calm yourself down, how to get yourself... I mean, are you a player that performs better being pumped up and do you
100%.
feed off the strength, or do you need to learn how to calm yourself down, relax yourself, get rid of the tension in your arms and in your
With
back?
the odd yellow card.
No, Chris! Monty, please don't get any yellow cards, but I would say that all the other advice that Chris is giving you,
Fairly sound.
I think fairly sound.
I'll just briefly say, and then as I transitioned into the senior age categories and stuff, I think one of the big mistakes people made, I'll just say Grand Prix, because if we're talking the vast majority of players, they're not the Liam Pitchers, they're not the Paul Drinkles. We go from the very good intermediate players, the county players, the local league players. They're excellent players. It's just, the Liam Pitchards are a once in a 2 decades player. If you're talking about the genuine goats of English table tennis, and I'm not going to include the Johnny Leaches and going back into the Sam. We'll talk the sort of from the 60s onwards. You've got your Dennis Neal, your Jill Hammersley Parker going back there, and then you go to the Des, Carl Preen, who isn't talked about enough as a world-class player, Alan Cook, Matt Seiden, that sort of half a level under that, Paul, Liam, and as good as Tom is, he's not quite reached that category of a player yet. So when we talk about these guys, and if you're asking what they do, it's not fair, but there's so few of those guys. You're probably more better off asking what the really good county players are doing, what gets them through in these tournaments. But I'd like to see when they go to a tournament, you have the guys. If it starts at 8:45, they're rocking up at 8:41. With the Gregs and the coffee in their hand, and that's not idealistic. So, if I was being honest with you, when you're a little bit older, you've played enough backhands and forehands over the years to be able to do that in your sleep. You'd be much better off doing a bit of stretching and stuff like that gets you more suitable for the match days. I see them go on straight out of the car on the table, forehand, backhand. You'd be much better off doing a few serves, pushing long, because that's what dictates the rallies. Pushing long to backhand. It's the get out of jail free card for everyone under the top national players. That's going to be far more beneficial than hitting 50 topspins in a row off a block. Interesting question, Chloe. Do you know approximately what the average rally length was at the last World Championships to 1 decimal point?
Oh gosh, okay, that's a tricky question.
International umpire here, she should know this.
I'm not going to know this. We put me in the spot. Oh, the average length of a rally at okay. I'm going to say 5 seconds.
No, shots.
Shots. Oh. 6.
Oh, it was like 3.7.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
So you're talking about players from every level warming up in a way, and some of the old school coaches wanting to hit 50 forehands.
Yeah.
It's not as relevant when they're playing the matches. You have to do that when they're younger and they're upcoming. You'd be much better off learning how to block off the heavy topspin, learning how to push the serve, things like that. So just briefly going to table 1 as we speak. We have Anna versus Tia, and Tia showing her class at the moment being 1-0-9. Is that 9? It's 9-2, yeah, 9-2, now 9-3. So, as I said, I had a feeling the first set was going to be more important to Anna than Tia. Tia taking that first set, now she's moving into the higher gear in the second set going forward. So, it's going to be a must-win, presuming this set goes the way it's looking like it's going as it speaks, being 10-3, 7 set points for Tia. It's a near must-win third set for Anna. So yeah, just a little bit too safe on the return of serves for me at the moment. Regulation pushes long all the time. Maybe looking to touch a few more short to Tia's forehand, flick the odd ball, and then the push becomes more effective as your variation. But yeah, very professional performance as we speak. 2-0 up for Tia against Anna Green in the Mark Bates Limited National Championships 2025. If you're interested on table 2, as we speak, we have Jasmine Wong, 8-5 up, I believe number 3 seed or number 4 seed, versus Rachel Isles. And again, that's a fantastic shot by Rachel. If you can tune in as well, if you have some interest in that with your club, with your region, tte.tv. Have I got that right, Chloe?
Have. Well done.
It took me 17 attempts.
Very well.
Just a quick shout out there, Chloe. The job the umpires are doing. There's no, in just every time, straight away getting the ball, keeping things going. Sometimes the time wasting tactics that we all players have all been guilty of. Within reason, the umpires are enforcing that each time, and they do. Sometimes it's a thankless job from the umpires, and they are doing a fantastic job. And it's nice to, as I've got older, appreciating what they did. When you're a cadet, no umpire is your friend ever, and then as you possibly, and not in my case necessarily, as people say, gain that maturity to understand. They're doing such a good job, and
I think, something that I know people realise maybe as they get a little bit older is the umpires are here because we love table tennis. We love table tennis. We love the game. We are here to help the tournament run smoothly. We want it to run smoothly, and we're here because we love it. To come to these competitions, to travel to these competitions, we don't get paid for it. We're here because we genuinely have a real love of the sport, a real passion for the sport. So thank you. That's quite nice recognition, I think, there for the umpires that have come today and, are giving up their time to do it. As we've got a little bit of a break, we've got a couple more questions that have come in for you. Are you ready to go into these? So I've got from Impro Film Club, Q for Chris, why are there no defenders playing? An interesting question. I think, some of our top players from yesteryear have been heavy defenders. Jill, of course, but also
Matt's hired.
Yeah, absolutely. So why is it that we haven't seen many defenders? Why is that kind of dropped off the radar?
It's not complicated. I can explain it in a couple of minutes. Every rule that came in hurt defenders in the 21st century. Some potentially rightly, some wrongly. When I came in, I had 1 year of 21. So that was the first significant rule change. Spiegel got banned. The ball change being the major one for defenders. That was a big hurt on the defenders, and it also hurt third ball guys. So it's why you haven't really seen a world left-handed champion since 1993 with Gatian being the last men's singles world champion being left-handed. There's not been too many over the years, but
just on this game,
go for it.
Really solid kind of cross attack there by Tia. Sorry, I just saw that out of the corner of my eye and thought to bring attention to it. But sorry, continue.
No, it's no problem. Shu Xin being the last of the truly world-class left-handed servers, and it's why to an extent you've seen the decline of the pen holders as well. The backhand, you need a backhand now. So the main one is the ball. So the ball being bigger, heavier, you don't get the revs of spin so when you played. I'm not going to include Ju Seok because Ju Seok is just too. That's the greatest defender of the modern era. Let's take someone like Jonas, for example. People don't understand how exceptional it is to be that level with the short, and he plays with short pinballs as opposed to long pinballs, because in the men's game you kind of need the short pinballs to get that extra cut on it, because the long pinballs, if you can't have any threat attacking now, you have no chance in the elite players. So it is a shame. It is a shame, really, because traditionally, like Mathieu de Santian in France has played. Every year he plays the game of the tournament in the French Championships. It was Gauzy 1 year, it was Felix Lebrun another year. And if anybody out there is interested, type in Mathieu de Santian, French table tennis player. You'll see the rallies of the century. He's played Dave, I believe, in the US, the leagues. So he's going to get offers all the time to play in courts because there's so few defenders now. But he can attack as good with the reloops and the counter top spins off both wings because he has to, which is a little bit of a shame, really. So you're actually seeing a rise every now and again of the defender, because now the juniors haven't grown up with any defenders.
Yes.
So inadvertently, the older guys have no problem playing the defenders, and the new generations, I'll just say the Larrys and the Isaacs, that generation, they never play defenders.
Yeah.
So it actually reverses. The odd defenders they do play feel like aliens to them because they haven't any practice against it. So there's a number of reasons why, but the number one reason being the ball, and it is a pity in that regard. And also people don't understand that when I was growing up, 10NG05 was a game changer when that came out in about 2008. So when someone used to spin the ball to your forehand, you truly knew if a player was world class by their ability to hit a counter topspin or a reloop. When 10NG came out, you could trust your racket every time. And it wasn't that it was faster, it was that it was purer. And now Dignix has taken that to another level in that, the blue Hurricanes and the DHSs and the boost, off the record, the boost that some players are using. The equipment is so good across the board now. There was a time when Tenergy was like using cheat codes. I was 14, 16 in England in September 2009, and to tell a funny story, Linus, now the Danish national coach the Anders Linds and Jonathan Grove, we got into the World Junior Championships because Nigeria withdrew. Their visas got declined, and we played the World Junior Championships with 2 to 3 days' notice. Wow. And Linus was ahead of his time in the fact that he was focusing on counter-top spins and banana flicks. This is 2009, and that's basically how the game's gone with the backhand flick and the counter-top spins. And I was playing Liam Pitchford, EIS, English Sport in Sheffield, and I missed about 14 reloops in a row off Liam's half-long. And I had Steger at the time, and I'm not trying to disrespect Steger. They were very good in there. I enjoyed it. Bill Thornton was great to me. I missed 14, and I genuinely believed I couldn't hit a forehand reloop. Yeah. I just didn't think it was in my game. I didn't think I had that shot in my arsenal. And then the coach went, "Chris, why are you so bad at reloops?" There was some other words in there, but I won't say them. And he's like, "Give me the racket." And then he missed them worse than I missed them. And he was like, "What is this something with the racket?" And he goes, Paul Drinkle was on the Devotel playing with Danny Reed, blast from the past. Yeah. Give me a real racket, takes it. I make 3 reloops in a row, which has probably never happened in my entire career at that point. And Linus would not let me on the flight. And I'm grateful to this day because it changed my career. He made every player give me a couple of sheets of Tenergy. So Liam, Paul, they all gave me some rubbers. And I had the tournament of my life at the time in Columbia in the World Junior Championships. And so as a player, I just didn't think I was good enough at that one shot. And that shows you the small margins in that regard. And that's another again, long story why the defenders are struggling. The equipment is so good now that sometimes you'd hit a chop and that you might hit a slight dead spot on a rubber that just doesn't exist anymore. The equipment has gone up so much. So sorry about the long. We had some tangents there, guys. But back to Chloe.
It was it was a labyrinth, but I enjoyed going through it with you. It was entertaining. Back onto this table 1 game. Tia really does look to be the favourite in this match. She's kind of dominating, being very quick. What if Anna was to pull this back? What is it that Anna would need to do to disrupt Tia's winning streak at this point in time?
My honest answer would be a time machine at this point, but to go back 20 minutes when Tia was nervous in the first set. Yeah. But this is what I'm talking about. If this turns into a hitting match, the game's over. If they trading shots, it's over. Tia's too confident, she's free love, she's quick. Anna has to slow the ball down and then speed it up. So she's got to be willing to throw the ball up every now and again with heavy spin and then take the next ball on. And then the next rally, maybe flip it on its head. Maybe intentionally do a long float, not a good push, to give Tia a different look. Yeah. So Tia, see, that is the perfect example of what I mean. A very, very heavy, very high quality backhand. So now at this point, that shot might not work. Yeah. Interesting. I might see what happens. Just out of curiosity, let's see what happens at this point. So Tia serving. And they're on the receive. So push and unfortunately you can't make that mistake because she's looking to work her way into it. So that's what I mean. She maybe has to make that receive with something different to give Tia a different look. So, and again, it's not a slight on Anna. It's just that Tia being full time now, Anna at Nottingham University, I believe. You see the difference between someone that's super sharp and someone that's an exceptional player in her own right, but maybe she's not playing 5-6 days a week and playing the circuit as Tia is.
We've got a couple more questions just as we're going into this. Let's have a little look at the comments. Ooh.
Sorry, there was a big rally on table 2. Sorry, I just finished. Go for it, Chloe. I'm ready.
That's it. Table 2 is on TTE.tv, and we've got Jasmine Wong versus Rachel Isles. A really good matchup, I think. Jasmine's leading currently, but Rachel's got an absolutely wicked arsenal. Like her backhand is absolutely fantastic. Sorry, we got a little bit sidetracked there, but let's back to the question. Best piece of advice when playing against someone you know that is better than you: go out swinging or play safer.
Okay, so I'll just say what worked for me and what I've tried to do over the years. When you play someone that's better than you, I say do everything you normally do and up it 10 to 20%. So what people do is when they play Liam Pitchford, for example, at the Nationals, they go full kamikaze and they think they have to do things. And the reality is, Liam's probably a bad example because a lot of the players don't have the capability to beat Liam in any scenario. So, I had a couple of good games with Liam over the years. Andrew Bagley played one of the best matches of the last decade I shouldn't say unfortunately. I'm friends with both guys, but from the standpoint that he was ahead in the match. And then at the very end, he just stopped the tactics that went for him. He played his normal game, but he knew he had to play 20% more aggressive to have a we're going back to 2014-ish now when this match was on. But, Liam wasn't quite in his final form as he is now in the last 5 years. But it was sort of, 40 in the world versus 100 in the world. And that was the thing. But my point being, Andrew did his normal game and he upped his aggression 20%. So if Eva, for example... Rachel wants to take out Jasmine here. She probably has to go 10% over her standard good level. But what you see sometimes when, let's say, the 25th seed plays the 15th seed, sometimes the 25th seed thinks they have to play so good that they lose their game, they lose their shape, they lose their identity as a player. And that's when the simple errors happen. Whereas, and also, if I'm being honest with you, you truly have to believe that you can do it. Yeah. It's not easy, but I've played semi-professional for 14 years since my injury. I stopped playing the really. I see a number of guys that play someone that they maybe have a 20% chance against, and as soon as they go one set down, it's over. They don't believe in their heart of hearts they have that comeback within them, and that's sad really. And I'd like to see. There was a doubles match I saw earlier. I won't say which one it was, but they were something like 7-4 up in the first set, went 9-8 down, and they gave up. Basically, and that I didn't like seeing that. Even if you're playing a higher pair on paper, why not go for it? Why not believe you have that chance? Because if you do find a way to go 1-0 up in that scenario, the seeds have all the stress on them.
Yeah. I would say, as someone who is a local league player, I call it healthy delusion. You've got to go on the table and you've got to genuinely believe whoever is opposite you, even if they're ranked something silly, that you can beat them. And I've been playing at some open tournaments recently and trying my luck at some of these 2 stars against male players and things like that. And healthy delusion. You've got to go in to enjoy yourself, keep your identity as a player. Like you said, you've got to play all your own strokes and just try and up the quality a little bit. You know it's going to be a tough match, but you have to believe you're capable.
Yeah, no, just very briefly on. I don't want to say unfortunately, but Jasmine won. Credit to her going 3-0 up there. But it was 10-0. So you have to go on TTE.tv to find this match on table 2. But Rachel was played almost the perfect set to 10-7 there. And she hoped Jasmine would miss at 10-7. So she was I wouldn't say crazy, but she was the aggressor. And she was winning, let's say, 3 out of the 5 exchanges as the aggressor. 10-7, she was just hoping for a miss from Jasmine, and she wasn't willing to take that winner on. Yeah. 1 minute later, it's 12-10 for Jasmine, and now you're getting a very similar concept to table 1, 3-0, 2-1, you're right in the game. 3-0, you got a mountain to climb. And it's not easy, and there's a reason why the champions are the champions, that they're willing to do the right things. It might not even be your year. Paul Drinkle might theoretically have a bad loss one year. It might not be his year, but he's going out doing the right things in that scenario. And that's the reason why he's won it 7 times. It's about a 50% win ratio for Paul, I guess, over the last 15 years. He's probably won 7. He's not won the title 7 years. So it's about a 50-50 ratio. Doesn't mean he didn't do anything wrong on the years he didn't win it. It's just, that wasn't his year. It wasn't meant to be. But he's given himself a chance in so many of those years.
Just on table 1 here, a really tactical timeout. Both timeouts have been used. And I think that was on Tia's side. She's got the advantage, but Anna's creeping up and she doesn't want to take this to another set because that does, when it's hard to win in 3 or in 4. Yep. But if you give somebody that opportunity, then, it could all change. So I think Tia does not want this to go to another set. Anna's too good of a player to kind of give her that chance. And as it goes, the longer the game goes, the more fitness, kind of comes into it at that stage. Just returning to the table now, do you think we'll be able to get it straight in from the serve? I mean, a little bit of a different serve at this stage. Like you say, being a bit awkward, doing something slightly different. It was Anna's serve. Yeah. Okay, let's see if she can pull it back and make it to deuce.
See, I don't like that. See, I didn't like that from Tia. It looked like she just wanted to end it quickly. Anna's 1 point away from losing the game. I'd like to have seen her make that ball and doesn't mean you block the ball, but do a medium punch rather than that she went for the bang punch to win it straight away. She'll probably prove me wrong now and hit a bang winner like that. So, but that wasn't low. That was what I would call an 8.5 out of 10 forehand. There was arc on the ball. There was a degree of error on that she had high over the net, a bit of clearance. Whereas the one at 10-9, it was an outright hit. Mm-hmm. You know, it'd be interesting to see if Anna can. You never know. Who wins this point. The stress is back on Tia as front. So Anna to serve just to win this point to stay in the national championships. The most stress she can possibly have as a player, really. Tia with a little bit of the gamesmanship. I've done the same over the years, I can't lie. You know, there's a bug on the court, you know, ball coming in, you know. Just a little break. I'm not entirely sure why. I believe something going on with the scoreboard, actually, so maybe it wasn't Tia, maybe it was me being a bit harsh on her there. So, a little bit of a break, again, not sure why. Anna's starting to serve now. Maybe an error from the umpire here, you know, should just let them get on with it at this point. But I know they have to update the electronic scoreboard, but it's not really fair to Anna on match point now to have that 1 minute break for
the artie's just
she's having some problem with the scoreboard, I think.
Yeah, she just gestured. I can't really see from what we're back in now.
Yeah, but very brave there from Anna. You know, Tia probably went too far the other way, just putting the ball on and hoping for an error from Anna. Yeah. But the again, a little incident like that with the scoreboard could have huge ramifications here if Anna comes back into it. So Tia to serve. We'll stick with this to the end of the set. Very, very intelligent there. Very, very intelligent. And again, I've been saying that all weekend to the players, on the camera, off the camera. Not enough balls to elbow. Not enough balls to middle. If you watch the top Asian players, always going into the elbow. At the moment, to the wings. Okay, Anna to save, I believe, third match point. Again, very, very brave. So it's looking like, I don't know what you're thinking, Chloe, on my end. It looks like both players are relatively comfortable on their own serve.
Yeah.
So it could be something like a little net here, a little something keeps it. You know, Anna needs something like that, a little bit of luck to go away here to maybe turn the set around.
I would say, like, you know, from what I'm seeing now, you know, saying that Anna's going for the brave shots. Tia's playing aggressively, but she's playing a little bit. Well, she's proving me wrong.
No,
but she was playing slightly safer. In a way,
she was again exactly what I said. Maybe Anna needed a little bit of luck there to turn her, and Tia got the little bit of luck. So maybe now Tia's got that monkey off her back, and I'm going to predict she wins it on this point. Now she's got that little bit of luck going her way, and now she might relax and play a more stable point. Just like that. So well done to Tia coming through there 4-0. But, you know, I did say I had a feeling that both players were so confident on serve those last 3 or 4 points. Both players were a little bit tight on the return. It might take a net one way or the other to win that set. And then, you know, ultimately, Tia won the game 4-0 and she was the better player and she fully deserved the win. Full credit to her. But just that 1 point, you know, one electronical thing on problem with the scoreboard at 11-10 in a set due to the national quarterfinal. Anna almost seemed angry and then rips the next forehand past Tia. Yeah. Maybe she's going to win that pot net. It's so rough as a player. I've had it both ways over the years. It is a very difficult scenario to come up with. So, and then I will say this quickly. I do love the no practice signs. You know, I've just imagined 2 spectators coming onto table 6 for a knock. You know, and then very, very, very subsequently, just afterwards on table 2, Jasmine Wong through to the semi-finals, taking out Rachel Isles 4-0. So, again, both losing quarterfinals as Anna and Rachel feel like they left at least a set on the table in both games. 2-1 for both players there. Probably it should have been, especially Rachel. And then you never know in the 4th set. Totally different dynamic. But credit to both players. I believe that is now the semi-final, that side. So it will be later tonight. It will be Tia versus Jasmine. And very interesting. Both short pin was on the back end, which is interesting to see how they both make their way around that. Jasmine being probably more of a blocker with the pimples, whereas Tia being more of the aggressor with the pimples. Whereas Tia's forehand has a bit more topspin. Jasmine's is a bit more flat. She will occasionally flat hit with the pimples, which isn't really possible for Tia because she plays with the Hurricane, I believe, or the Chinese rubber. So that flat hit on the forehand isn't really going to happen with the tackiness of the rubber. So
yeah, it's more to spin. It's more to grip onto the rubber and get that spin.
Yeah, so coming up next on the show court, we will be having Louis Price versus Tom Jarvis. Coming up, is that quarter 2, I believe, is the next match?
Yes, I believe so. So we might have a little break here. Give poor Chris a little bit of a rest for his voice. And then if you'd like to join us, would you like to join us for the next one? It's up to you.
I mean, is there a simultaneous match on there? I'm just looking on table 2. So Sam Walker versus David Macbeth. And I'll say this. I would like to see this potentially at next year's Nationals where we review the matches. 'Cause I don't know how it's done. I believe it's done with an algorithm that we decide which match is on table 1. So, whereas last year it worked out with me and Connor, it was clearly the match it should have been the match of the quarterfinals, and I think it should have probably been on the table 1. Dave versus Sam 5v is probably Dave versus Sam is probably the match on paper at least of the. Liam and Paul as well. Paul and Sam as well. Trying to find the matches that should be on the show court, and it's no disrespect to the other matches, just sometimes you can see it's so obvious which is the match of the round. I'd like to see them put on the show courts there. I know we do have all 6 tables available through TT.tv, but just, you get the commentary, Chloe being more popular than myself, I'm sure. So
I'm not sure I'd say that. I think it's tricky. It's an organisational logistical nightmare. I think you're saying that we do have the coverage. Both tables are on professional cameras. 1 and 2 being streamed from the top. We've got the OVR system, the score system on table 1 and 2. Table 2 on TT TV. This streaming to YouTube is a bit of an experiment for us. I'm loving the interaction on the comments, and please keep sending your questions. We have, shall we do a couple more in the break? While you got, we've still got your voice working and all of that. Let's.
Where's Connor? I didn't have a coffee. Come on.
He can be the coffee boy. Coffee boy today. Bit of an let me try that one again. Bit of an inevitable it depends question, but speaking of going to the elbow, what percentage of shots would you say aim for the elbow? I've never trained myself to do it. So I think, you say it depends. I'd agree it depends. It depends on the kind of player. I mean, how often they're being caught out. I mean, sometimes it depends on the player how far into the elbow you want to play them. Sometimes, left, right hander. I don't know how. I mean, the second half of that question is, I've never trained myself to do it. What's a good exercise for kind of training yourself to hit it into that elbow shot?
They're very, very simple to start off with at intermediate level. Just do backhand to backhand, but box to box. So if you want to play as many backhands as you want, as many forehands as you want, play half to half and put a towel up on the forehand side. In this scenario, we have 2 right-handers, theoretically speaking. It doesn't have to be 2 right-handers, right v left. Block the right side of the table out. Put a jacket up. And what I find, rightly or wrongly, I like to have a forfeit. So every time you hit the shirt or the run to the wall. Especially with the kids, the juniors, because it's such a good mental imprint for them. So that they're targeting areas on the table. So someone like yesterday when me and Andrew Bagley played in practice, shout out, that's why he won his last match, because I warmed him up. So he's playing to my backhand half, so I'm tracking 6 inches to the left, 2 inches to the short. You're using the whole box, whereas when you normally see people warm, it's backhand to backhand, middle of the box. And that's a very easy way to start learning how to move inches, not feet, and being able to hit similar qualities from slightly different positions. So that's how I would say for that one. And I think this is the most important advice I can give you for this one, for elbow. And just tactics in general. Nothing is black and white in this when you're learning. There's a lot of grey. Mm-hmm. So I can guarantee you the percentage should be more than whatever it is right now.
Yeah.
For 99% of the players, right?
Yeah.
And then you've always got one player that's like, I play to the elbow every time. I'm like, I'm sure you do. But I can guarantee you the percentage should be higher. So there's no I should be doing it 1 out of 7 times. I should be playing to the elbow. No, it's like I said, to learn it. You can do that exercise there. Mm-hmm. You can do middle either side. You bet. A good one for what I try and do with my players, the top genius one. I'm going to do backhand to backhand switch, but do one or two backhands cross court. Third ball goes middle or forehand. So because at the moment where everyone's switching, they see the Liam pitcher with maybe his exceptional backhand down the line. Yeah. They think the switch has to go every time down the line. Switching to the middle with the important word, Chloe, being quality.
Yeah.
If you switch to the forehand, oh my God, if you just block to the forehand, you're in trouble with the good players. Yeah. So people get scared to play to the forehand because of what happens in these scenarios. But if you play to the forehand with quality, a lot of the time it's a better shot than playing to the backhand with quality. Because it's easier to block or hold with the backhand in that scenario.
Yeah.
So
say hello. There we go.
There's the elite athletes in the commentary box, you know. So, but no, it's I thoroughly enjoyed having me here, Chloe. I appreciate it. You know.
I've enjoyed it. We haven't
more
a good chat. I've got another question that's come in on the Facebook, and actually I've got a bit of an answer for this one as well. But I think you might have the next next level. So it was basically advice against long pimp. Yeah. Defenders or long pimp pushers. My tip, I mean, the thing is, you know, I'm coming from more of a local league, you know, 1-star, 2-star level.
Local league once upon a time.
1-star, yeah. So one thing that I found really working for me, a little bit of a dig, short serve into the pimps. They respond with either a block or a little bit of dig, and that's come up for your third ball attack. Yeah. I found that's been very effective at that level. I think when you get to a little bit of a higher level, they're probably a bit more wise to that. But that's what I found kind of just recently for me, a little bit of push, not too much chop, a little bit of chop into the pimples. They respond with a bit of backspin. You know that with the long pimps, it's going to be reversed. So the next shot is going to be slightly floaty, or exactly that you can come in with that topspin. When it gets a little bit higher, and they're wiser to that, have you got any tips about playing against those long pimps?
Well, I mean, the biggest mistake, I'll just take Mari for an example. We were talking about Mari earlier. So the biggest mistake a lot of the players are making against Mari's style of player on the backhand side is that they're playing the same energy ball. So middle of backhand, right? So when you just said there about the only slight variation, I'd elaborate on what you said there with your short serve. I would serve closer to half long, because when it's short, the ball is coming at you much quicker there. So when they were serving too short or returning too short to Mari, that backhand across the ball that's coming at you with tops is coming at you so much faster when the ball's short. If it's half long, 2/3, because you know more than likely they're not going to attack with the long pimples. So if you're serving half long, you give yourself that split half a second more time, which is very valuable. So it helps you and it hurts your opponent. So there's a two-pronged. A lot of the players are always thinking about what makes them feel better rather than thinking necessarily about what their opponent doesn't want. And exactly what I said to you earlier. If theoretically, if I was playing against Mari and had to, I would be looking maybe elbow more or wide to backhand more. So it's not necessarily about how fast you hit the ball, it's about trying to find those. And I'm not saying Mari specifically, I'm saying that style of opponent. So on the men's game, if that Luka Maldanovic, or however you pronounce it, from Luxembourg, who's the best anti-spin player in the world. So when Tom Jarvis beat him, every good point Tom lost. Every time Tom played proper table tennis, which was spin the ball, push the ball, spin, he lost the well-constructed rallies. Tom found the solution where he just hit the ball full power because he didn't want any rallies. Yeah. And it was genius. It was like backhanded genius, because Tom knew the better the match was, the worse it was for him with the rallies and stuff. And Tom found a way. He just hit the ball full power. He didn't care. He said, I don't care if this is ugly to watch. And that's what you need to, ultimately, it's about learning how to win in those situations. So what might work for Chloe might not work for Chris, and vice versa. So you always have to be looking to have that open mind in those scenarios.
I'll be using that tactic at the next one though, trying to get them half long. So just absolutely wellying it onto the next one. So interesting matchup that we've got now on table one. We've got Tom Jarvis versus Louis Price, the beast of TTD fame. What do you make of it? I mean, Louis has been playing a lot in the German league. Both have been playing quite consistently abroad. I honestly don't know who I'd say. Tom's slightly stronger on this side, but Louis has been playing very well. What are your thoughts?
Well, this is the difference now between semi-pro and pro. So, as we stand, Louis trying to make that breakthrough to the Tom level. You know, whereas Tom is now there, and he's won the national championships 2 times already, and he's been in the final 3 years in a row. Tom, you could make the argument he's hitting his backhands almost as hard, if not harder, than his forehands at times. Mm-hmm. Louis is only really gonna hurt Tom from the forehand wing. So it's going to be a case of, can Tom keep Louis out in these scenarios, and is he going to have any difficulties with the serve receive? So Louis serve here, first point at the first set, and that would be a pretty common tactic from Tom, I would imagine, going forward in this, directing the majority of his attacks at the Louis Price backhand. So you see there, so Louis is dangerous on the forehand wing. You know, I would still say Tom's forehand is better than Louis' forehand, but there is a certain risk factor coming at you from the forehand side of Louis.
Just looking on the YouTube comments again. Mark Short says, really enjoying listening to Chris. It's excellent to get a top level player views. I agree. I've really enjoyed. I'm getting all of the tips. I'm getting all the knowledge from asking Chris all the questions. It's selfish.
I'll send the invoice in tomorrow. You know, I'll charge you 3 coffees per. 2 coffees per hour. You know, there's no problem.
I can do it for two coffees.
There we go. No, it's like I say, I've equally enjoyed it. So it's nice to I had Connor yesterday, yourself today, and I think with these commentary, it's interesting to hear the different voices. So it's not, whether it's football or tennis, when sometimes if you hear the same commentator for a decade in your ear, doesn't matter how insightful they are, sometimes it can get a bit stale. So it's interesting hearing different views, different side points. I'm sure someone not willing to put it in writing has absolutely despised it and says Chris doesn't know what he's talking about, and vice versa. Some are quite enjoying it. So.
If someone's not, everyone's willing to put it in writing. Yeah. So I think it's great we're getting some positive feedback. I'm just going to. Luke Rickett has asked a question. Luke from Brighton. What is the longest juice game that any of you guys have ever seen? And you know what? I've never seen a game go to expedite. I've never seen that long of a juice game. I'd say probably 21. I'm pretty sure I have seen a game go to 21, just naturally go to 21. Yeah. But I don't know. How about you, Chris?
Well, from a time standpoint, I've spoken about it already, but only because they told me last year was me and Connor broke the record since they've started recording it in 2011. I think it was 77 minutes or something like that. Yeah. That was the physically longest game that I've been involved in. I remember donkeys years ago, shout out to Liam, when we were younger at Ponds Forge, we had, oh my God, there was 2 games in the same weekend. It was Danny Reed versus Matt Ware in the under-21s. And Danny Reed was probably the second or third. I believe he lost the final to Paul. So Danny's an elite player. And Matt Ware was trying to pull off the shock of the weekend. And every set was juice. And I know Danny won 3-2 in the end. Matt had multiple match points, but the 4th set, or cracking back in there from Tom, but it was something like 3 different sets were at least 17-15. And one of them was but I remember I saved something like 11 match points against Liam. Liam saved about 8 against me, and Liam beat me 21-19 in the 4th to stay alive in the under 21. We were younger. I was 14ish. Liam was 12. Yeah. Shout out for Liam beating me when he was 12. Thanks, Liam. Could at least let me have that before the glory years. But it was Miles Evans, Gavin, performance director, his older brother, and Miles was the seed, and we both beat Miles, and Liam then beat me to progress. But Liam, in my opinion, they probably should have won 2-1, but Liam beat me something like 21-19 in the 4th, and then the 5th was about 19-17. It was a bit less, but it didn't feel like less. So there was something like 20-ish match points spurned between us. So that was probably my personal longest one.
We're getting told off now. John Christopher says, need to focus on the game, guys. Fair enough. Let's get back to the game. Let's focus in on what's happening right now. So you were talking a little bit before about the margin between going from semi-professional to a pro player. What makes up that margin, and can you kind of use what's happening in front of us right now as like a bit of an example about what's happening?
So I mean, if first of all, I mean, if you look at Tom right now, Tom is an athlete. Tom's standing around about 6 foot. He's in fantastic shape. Tom's an athlete that is playing table tennis right now, and from my perspective, that would be probably the biggest slant on my career of the last decade or so. I was a table tennis player. He was a very good table tennis player, but I wasn't an athlete per se anymore, especially once the injury started, and I've put some weight. Tom right now is, fit as a butcher's dog. He looks like he can go all day. And Louis is also in good shape, but, Tom's that little bit taller, a little bit stronger, and you see the power. You can hear the ball, Chloe, from Tom. We always said Tom had a thicker ball than most people. It was maybe a tiny bit less spin, but very heavy. it would hit your bat. So when you played Tom in particular, you could never block the ball. When you blocked the ball would go in the net because he hit such a heavy ball. Whereas someone like Liam had a much spinnier ball. It was as quick as Tom's was, but a tiny bit less powerful, but a bit more margin for error. So Louis, at this point, is an unbelievable servant. Obviously, he's 10-8 up now as well. So it'll be interesting. As we said earlier, this will be very interesting if Louis can take the set. Because we have a number of instances now where the lower seed has had leads in the first set or maybe the second set, and they haven't been able to take it from these winning positions.
It's like, we were just talking, earlier about...
Not in this case.
About coming out with... You said that's something that you'd like to see, people kind of going all out in that first set, and I think that's exactly what Louis has just done. He's kind of put all of his cards on the table. He's moving exceptionally well. His movement and his, you were saying just before about his fitness. I think that's really on display in that game that we've just watched. Louis' movement abilities and his ability to get through the wings of the table and his placement from those wings as well. It's one thing to get to the wing, to get to that wide ball and get it back on the table. It's another thing to get there and then place it intentionally.
Well, this is the number one difference I always see in doubles. I was talking about the doubles very briefly, and then we'll focus specifically on this game going forward. When you hit a good shot wide to someone's forehand, 90% of the draw can get the ball, but it's a retrieval.
Yeah.
Paul Drinkle, these guys, they get there with they get there with quality. Yeah. So they're not going to hit a winner from necessarily that position because they're out of position. But how deep is the ball on the table? Some of the youngsters, they're dropping that ball half table.
Yeah,
it's not their fault. They've been put in tough positions from a great shot from your opponent, but it just shows the eliteness of those players to get that ball at least back deep. So they're putting them under some stress in those positions. But Tom, 3 consecutive finals, number 2 seed now. Be nice to see him bounce back now straight away. But the jab service had the last couple of years given a lot of painful opponents. But to be fair to Louis, in the first set he didn't really have any problems with it.
No. Yeah, you just saw it there, that little jab serve, and Louis just came straight across it with his backhand. A lovely return.
I've been told Tom is taller than 6 foot. If you didn't know, I'm about 6'7", 6'8", so I've always been pretty bad at judging people's height. Andrew Bagley, I told him he was 5'6" once, just to get in his head a little bit, because he's like, I'm 5'10". I was like, you are not 5'10", Andy. You're 5'8.5". But he's not a fan of it, so I apologise. Comments. Tom is a very strapping, powerful young lad. To me, he's 6 foot, 6'1". He might be 6'2", so I apologise, guys, for that. So height is not my judgment, but. Again, I said, realistically, if Louis is going to win this game, you would anticipate the rallies being quite short. Yeah. Dominate on the serve receive and stuff, and Tom winning the longer exchanges. But very clever from Louis so far. So that's what I would see probably coming into the match. A few more long serves from Tom. I know in the Tom's playing the second Bundesliga. I believe it's for Mainz, but I'm not sure exactly what team he's playing for. But he's either top or one of the top players on the averages in the second Bundesliga, playing on top table at number 1. And a lot of the players are constantly talking about how much trouble they're having with the serve and keeping Tom out. Because Tom has raw power. So when I was younger, it was a lot of time about getting the serves back in play. You can't do that anymore because people can hurt you with the backhand and the forehand. So if you're just playing Tom and just getting the receives in play, I missed that Louis, but he's doing the right thing. He has to be willing to take on those backhands against Tom. If I'm being honest, probably the worse the match is, the better it is for Louis. If they're exchanging, you're playing right into Tom's hands.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. The quality of Louis' shots has been really well, but he doesn't want to get into a back and forth with Tom because when it gets into that back and forth, you see Tom is the more consistent of the two, especially when it comes into those really powerful exchanges. You can, the power that Tom's able to get in his shot off the back of the table. There was a question that came in a little bit earlier from Leonardo Russo. With the quality of flicks so high, why do almost all serves still go short? That's an interesting one.
You're right.
It depends on the spin and what you're trying to achieve. I think maybe the bigger question is, are some players kind of serving without intention, serving without setting themselves up properly?
I think a lot of it is honestly pride. I'll give you an example. The Korean, not Lee Sang-soo, Jang Woo-jin. So what he does sometimes is when he plays a forehand from the backhand side, he just turns very early, and every now and again he looks stupid because they see it and they go wide to his forehand, and he just basically shrugs his shoulders, moves on to the next point, because he knows by turning the corner early, he gives himself that extra 1 second. And the long serve is a little bit like that. I think what happens is they do the long serve. Let's say Paul Drink, for example, sees it, steps around, pings the forehand. They've got the scar tissue in their head of Paul bombing the long serve, so I'm not going to do another long serve. And, you know, if the players have been critical of themselves, they probably have to also practice their serve to make their long serve better, you know, because now where Tom's, like that serve from Tom there, great rally. Yeah, so
that was well won by Tom there.
Yeah, so again, the exchanges I'm heavily favouring Tom right now, but you know the players have to be also critical of themselves to be willing to practice their serves, going home, getting a bucket of balls, and being willing to practice their long serve, so that when they do the long serves, they can trust it on. Ultimately, if it's, let's say it's theoretically this match is 3-2, 7-6 for Tom, can he trust the long serve under stress at that point, rather than is he going to do it at 9-5 in the first set?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think. You know, traditionally, that was a nice round the net shot there from Tom.
Big rally on table 2.
I think traditionally, you know, the role of the short serve is to kind of prevent that attack, and if you've, you know, got the spin, it still can be that shot. I think
10-6 or 10-6.
That's why it's so popular, because you're trying to prevent your opponent from coming with an attack straight away. The flick is kind of the solution, your opponent's solution to that. What's happening now on table 2, Chris?
Yeah, so if you, again, got the plug outs here, but forgotten the bit to speak English for a second there, Chloe. Apologies, viewers.
You've been speaking a lot.
Yeah, so Cliff Carter shouter tells me I never shut up, so at least we use it on commentary rather than annoying people on the stand. So if you plug onto TTE.tv right now, probably again on paper the pick of the quarterfinals, Dave Macbeth versus Sam Walker. They have a history of playing, I believe, semi-finals a couple of times, number of quarterfinals. They played here, they played at the Copper Box that time in the O2. And I don't know if it was Dave's first ever win, but he did beat him this season in St. Neots. An event not of the calibre of the National Championships, but it can't do any harm getting over the line, because that day, I think Dave won on something like his 8th match point.
Yeah.
He was dominating Sam. He was 2-0 up. He was dominating. Sam came back into it, and on paper, you're going to think Sam's going to win that in the 5th set after coming back. And Dave eventually won on something like his 8th or 9th match point. So it could be a coming of age thing for Dave. If he finds a way to beat Sam here, then he's going to have the winner of Louis, and the winner of this one will play obviously the winner of, on table 1 of Louis and Tom Jarvis, and you know, back on table 1. So, and yeah, fantastic backhand there from Tom. So realistically, if Louis not finishing the points by the 3rd, maximum 4th shot, I would say the last 10 rallies, Tom's probably won 8 of those exchanges.
A little bit too short. I think Lou was a bit too far away from the table there. The back went flying out of his hand as he tried to...
Give him a break, Chloe.
I couldn't see. I couldn't see there was a net. I'm being very harsh. I'm being very harsh there. Sorry, Louis. I couldn't see. Tom was stood in the way with all 6 foot.
5'11". No, Tom, tell me later how wrong I was, but I'm going to guess 6'1". But no, and then again, this is the joy of table tennis, really. You know, Louis being a bit more on the short side by an athlete standard. Louis is probably in the sort of 5'7" range. You know, me shaking hands with Connor last year. You know, Connor's average height, and then me 6'7". It's nice memories. You know, Samson. My favourite matches when I was growing up was always Kranga v Samsonov. Styles, height, they were two opposites, and it was opposites attract in these situations. So. You know, it is nice to you see the different body types, different sizes, different styles we're getting today. And I'll be on... Oh, that's a fantastic play from Tom. Again, Chloe, what did he do? Down the line with the forehand. So you're seeing the difference between the champions, Tom, Paul. Haven't seen Liam too much today. Willing to take that ball on down the line. You know, he didn't hit the ball through. Louis got his bat on it, but what I said earlier, forced errors, you know. Great commentary. Thanks, Jack.
I mean, is there anything that you'd suggest for practicing those down the line shots? I mean, other than the usual, just getting your consistency, throw in some down the line shots when you go practicing. But other than that, is there a good way, some good exercises that you can think of to kind of practice that?
So, There's two or three things definitely you can do. So the biggest mistake, I coach a lot. I was at Sycamore Nottingham Academy now, I believe it's called, at Calm the Willows this week in Nottingham. The biggest mistake people make is they try and start with the end product. So you're much better off being like a pyramid, starting at the bottom and then building it up. So the biggest mistake I think people make is when they go down the line, their shots are too long. So, like, relatively speaking, is your technique the same down the line as it is cross-court? And you're talking a matter of inches, Chloe, with your chest opening up for down the line. If you were a right-hander going to a right with a forehand to a right-hander's backhand, or, as Tom showed there, a right-hander going to a left-hander's forehand. It's the arm speed, Chloe, which is so much more important. So the biggest mistake, I would say, with intermediate players is when they want to take on a ball in that scenario, they actually go longer. You need to go quicker and actually down the line, if possible, a tiny bit shorter because there's less distance to travel. And the mistake they make is they go longer and they change the technique. Yeah. Whereas Tom there, the snap of the elbow, the follow through with the wrist, it's just the speed through his arm. It makes it so hard to see because if your shots are smaller, they don't know which direction it's going much more easier. They can't pick up on the body tells.
One thing that I am really enjoying, even though I'd say Tom is coming out of these exchanges on top, like we've seen in the comments, Louis' countering has been really quite strong. It's like kind of coming right over the top of the ball, keeping the spin, keeping the momentum. It's a shame that he hasn't quite got the ability to keep it going after those first couple, but the quality of the countering is really good.
Yeah, I think for me, he might want to consider going back to 2 inches to give himself a little bit of time because he can take 1 or 2 of Tom's balls. And I'm not talking feet, I'm talking like an inch. That was very clever. And that's, the strength of Louis, and if we're being honest, the small weakness that Tom has. Tom's strength isn't his creativity in that scenario. He's a hammer. He's hammering the ball harder than probably has the hardest shots in the draw. Paul. It's very, very. It's a replay of the previous point, but very disgusting ball to play against there. So, no, Tom is a cruncher. Yeah. I was very off my game about 3 years ago when I played him here, and I wanted to put the white flag up in the second set. It was just, if you're giving him medium balls, the quality and the power that he's able to put on the ball is just huge, And that's the biggest difference between the champions and the other ones. If you play someone like myself or on the second tier of the top players or the best of the rest sort of guys, they might steer that forehand on every now and again. They might hit it 7 out of 10. If you pop the ball up against Tom, Dave and Sam on court 2, it's just gone. Yeah. It's just gone. And credit to Dave here. So Dave, if you're tuning on table 2, Dave going 2-0 up now on Sam Walker. Trailing 4-2 in the third set, but 5-2 now for Tom. That would be, as I said, my opinion was the hardest to pick of the quarterfinals, with the possible exception of Paul Drinkel versus Andrew Bagley. Depending on which Andrew Bagley we get, do we get prime Andrew Bagley, or do we get? He's 42 years old now. He still acts like he's 27.
You keep bringing up his age. He's
I know he's not, but that's the reason me and Andy get on well, even though he won't admit it at times. He's It's a shout out to him that he's playing the second Bundesliga, so he's playing. I believe he's got to play Tom in a couple of weeks potentially in the league now. He signed at Christmas, so for the second half of the season. So you're going to get these. It'd be nice to see the England guys going at it more often rather than once a year at the national. So if they are playing in the same divisions, because I know Sam and Tom for 1 or 2 years played in the same team in Germany, so they couldn't play each other. Mm-hmm. So we're going back to table 1 now. So Tom opening up a 2-love lead here. Oh, that's a fantastic serve by Louis. So that is really. But the problem is, now he's seen it. So can you do it again? So in the first set, when Tom probably hasn't played Louis at least for a couple of years, probably. Louis being in Germany, Tom residing more in England now, but then commuting out. They never trained each other. Yeah. So that would actually, in a way, favour Louis with his specific style, with the serves and the variation. Yeah. But Tom, every set is seeing the serves a little bit more. There's only so many serves you can do now. And I believe I said that a couple of sets ago. I was surprised in the first set that Tom wasn't serving anything long to Louis' backhand. He's really struggling with it. Now, Louis, he doesn't have that. You said the counters are fantastic, but sometimes generating the speed and the quality off a dead ball isn't his strength per se. Mm-hmm.
Just looking at the chat. I coach TT. Louis looks lost, too passive, and not trying to impose his own strength. I disagree.
Big rally on table 2.
I'd just go back to that comment. I disagree. I think the first game especially, I think Louis was imposing his game. He actually came out very strong. He was playing. Surprised. He was put all his cards on the table, playing very strong. I do think in these the last 2 games, I think Tom has upped his game, which has forced Louis into some more unforced errors. Because, like you said, in those exchanges, I think Tom is the stronger player. But I would disagree in saying that Louis is being too passive.
I also agree with you on that. And I think the biggest difference is the fact that Tom's forehand has been exceptional since the first set. I mean, Tom does have a great backhand as well, but he's barely missed a forehand. Mm-hmm. So when Louis hitting balls like, let's see, that heavy spin, I think that's Louis' only real chance if he throws in the heavy spins and the speed balls to give Tom different looks. Because I think arguably, actually, it might be the opposite. I think he might have been carried away with how well he's playing and turned it into a trade-off, a trading match of blows. And there's only going to be one winner if this is a trading match of blows, you know. But no, I think Tom's ability to redirect his forehand on the back foot to both Louis' backhand and forehand has been exceptional since the second set. Yeah. So like that, just enough on the backhand on the first one.
Yeah.
And whereas, I'm not saying Louis did the wrong thing blocking it. Once you block the Tom, the game's now in Tom's hands. So Tom's taking that ball on. Tom might have probably gone for the relip there. Even if he'd missed it, he knew he had to go for it. Whereas Louis, like I said, most of Louis' points now are predominantly won in the first 1 or 2 shots. Chloe. So, wow, 2-0-9-8 for David Macbeth as we speak. Sam Walker under a little bit of pressure here.
That's on table 2, which is on tte.tv.
I was just saying from your perspective, Chloe, I know the guys very well. As a more neutral umpire and professional umpire, what would you say on this, watching Dave versus Sam? Would you say this is a big shock, a small shock? What would you say?
I'd say, I mean, the consistency at which Sam has got himself into these finals, I would say this is a bit of an upset. And I think it's, I mean, I know that David's been playing a lot, like we were mentioning before, playing in the American League.
I said I like the Cho from Dave. I want the Chos. I want the Chos.
I mean, considering how well he's playing, I think that is a Choable moment. I think it deserved the Cho. It was a necessary Cho, for sure. But yeah, I think, I mean, obviously when you're umpiring, you try not to think one way or the other. But up here on the thing, I think that David's playing quality at the moment. He's playing quality.
Yeah. So just very briefly, yeah. If you no need to turn away from the Louis Price Tom match as Tom goes to 3-1 up, but the great thing about the tt.tv is you can come back and watch that one later. So there's no need to turn away from your screen if you're watching and enjoying this match right now. But just a shout out as it stands, and what I loved there was it was 2-0-9-8 for Dave. Mm-hmm. He loses the point, and he went for it at 9-0. He and that forehand down the line. Sam was waiting cross court. Maybe at some points in the biggest matches over the years, Dave maybe hasn't willing to crack that ball down the line, and he made it there, and full credit to him, being 3-0 up, because at least 2 of the sets were 2 points. Yeah. So theoretically it could be 2-1 for Sam right now. Being 3-0 up for, I'm not saying Sam's out of it. Sam did it against myself back in 2013. I was 3-0 up, and Sam came back and beat me, and that was kind of Sam's breakthrough moment. So, but see if Louis can find a way back into this, but I think it's going to be tough. Yeah.
I agree. Question on YouTube was from Kingdom of Kane. Do you have to pay for it? I think it's returning to tte.tv if you're a Table Tennis England member. No, you get it for free. You can sign in with your membership details, and you can watch all of the matches, all of the coverage, and you can go back and watch it. Membership, and you can get a free spectator membership from the Table Tennis England website. So yes, you can watch it. You can watch that Table 2 match on there.
It's just so hard, Chloe. There, the Louis hit a fantastic first forehand, and Tom finds a way to kick it back down the line to Louis' backhand. Like, I think Louis playing honestly a 9 out of 10 game here. I think if I had to be super critical, the odd slow spin to Tom's backhand, just a couple more to give him a little bit of look. Maybe a long backspin serve to forehand. Just I think a little bit more outside the box. But in terms of shot quality, I don't think Louis would win. I think Louis would dominate the 10s, 11s, 12s in England's. He'd probably be favourite against me right now if he's playing like this. But there's a reason Tom is a lot of people's choice to win this year. I mean, Liam obviously has the pedigree and the higher world ranking, and he's been doing it for longer. But there's a reason Tom is such a sought-after player now in the game. Timeout on table 2.
Oh, it was a good idea. I could see. Just caught the net on that forehand shot. Lou was in position. I think could have been a winner there. Unfortunately, the net can sometimes be your best friend, and sometimes it can be your greatest enemy. Saif, just on the comments, you can get a free Table Tennis England membership, which will allow you to access TTE.tv for free. That's a spectator membership that you can get. Supporter membership. Supporter. I'm calling it all the wrong things on the live stream. Oh, that was a good exchange there.
Fantastic. The only problem is I couldn't tell you the last time Louis won that point.
Yeah.
If there was after the first set, maybe the first 2 sets, if you had to rank the top 10 best points that have been played, I would imagine 9 have been won by Tom. Yeah. So, the opposite of what I was saying in the earlier matches about the essential, slightly more boring points. Yeah. Louis ironically won those, but Tom's just been so solid, and we were talking about his athletic ability. Yeah. He just looks so fit. Yeah. Honestly, so fit as a player right now. So, he looks like Tom could go for another 7 sets, honestly, right now. Yeah. And to be fair to Louis looks fit as well. He doesn't look tired. He's just been outplayed. Just been outplayed by a superior player as we stand.
Yeah, like I said, I think Louis is doing all of the right things. He's playing exceptionally. I think it's just Tom with that quality, with like you said, the difference here between the pro player and the semi-pro. Louis is doing his best to keep that margin tight. I've got to give it to him.
And to be fair, we shouldn't dispel the fact there is an age gap here. Yeah. Theoretically, I think Louis is 21-ish in that region, whereas Tom's probably closer to... Tom's born 2000, I believe, so Tom's 24. So, is he 24, 25? It might be 99, actually. It might be 99, so he's about 20, call it 25. Louis is probably closer to 20. There's a 5-year age. I'm not saying Louis would beat 20-year-old Tom, but... if they were playing at the same age, maybe it's a closer game. But Tom right now is probably playing the best table tennis of his career. Like we were saying earlier, Liam in 2019 before COVID was playing the best table tennis of his career. So you look at the draw right now, maybe traditionally you'd want to see Tom over Liam as your opponent. Right now you're probably wanting to see... You don't want to see Tom in the draw. When you were the group winners yesterday, credit to Joseph Hunter that he gave Tom as good a game as he did for 3 or 4 sets in the previous round, but it's just so much power every time there. So he can hurt you with the backhand and the forehand, and it's just... I think that's the first time I've really seen Louis' shoulders just drop there. I just noticed he's like, what can I do? Honestly. And Tom spreading his arm. He's enjoying himself now, I think, Chloe. He can see the winning post is clear, I think, and he's, wouldn't even surprise me if we won the next couple of points, maybe if we finish from the exhibition point. Around the net there. So I think for full credit to Louis, he knew he was playing for the crowd there at the end. So Tom Jarvis, your 2-time national champion, advancing to the semi-finals to... you don't see that every day. Both matches finished simultaneously. Within 3 seconds of each other. So it will be Tom Jarvis versus David Macbeth in the semi-finals tomorrow, Chloe.
An exciting matchup.
Yep.
Yeah, and a great victory for David Macbeth. I think, Sam, on paper might be the
to go with this. I
favourite,
had to
but
go with the
it was a really good show. I was just kind of watching out of the corner of my eye, and it looked to be a great match. You can catch up on that. You can watch it on demand on tte.tv just in time for the semi-finals tomorrow. And that's it from us on Table One today.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining me in the commentary booth, Chris. You've been a great person to talk to. Some really insightful little tips and
Oh, thank
tricks and everything. So it's been great to be watching these matches on Table One with you. And tomorrow, all of the games are on tte.tv. That's Table 1 for finals. We've got all of the finals, semi-finals, finals on tte.tv tomorrow. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow.
See you guys.
1, 2, 3, go!